Khan woke up the next morning with a fresh mind. After yesterday's incident, he was clear on how his subordinates were the best chance to secure his assets and take care of the people that were useful and important to him. If not for Ronan being present there, maybe the old Grandmaster Blacksmith would have been killed. And despite Albestro's asking them to be spared, Ronan finished them off later anyway. Because just like Khan, he wasn't the type to leave behind enemies or something that would cause unnecessary trouble for them later. So Khan was now clear on how only his own subordinates were the most efficient allies. Plus, now that he had broken through to semi-saint rank, the range of the hive mind skill had also risen to 10 kilometers and he could be in direct touch with all the subordinates in that radius. Although it wasn't that far. It was still a form of progress. Ronan, who was acting as security throughout the night, appeared out of a shadow from a corner of the room. "Take it out," spoke Khan, and then he too took out a dead body from his space ring. Ronan, on the other hand, took out Ranga, the Botur warrior's cut-down body parts. The former body belonged to the semi-saint rank Demonkin clan head of the Volstov clan, Dormammu Volstov. This was the person who had given Khan the Sword Lord ability and Sword Aura Blade skill. The two bodies were big and tall. Their build was muscular and their fighting skills were top-notch without a doubt. Although Ronan easily took out Ranga, by no means was this warrior weaker than him. Just that majority of the amazing skills that Ronan had directly came from Khan's merged skills. And now he too could fight just like Khan in his peak when it came to assassin skills or fight in a group battle. "Absorb!" spoke Khan and started absorbing the skills from the dead Botur. But in return, he only received subpar skills. The one truly efficient was the exoskeleton skill, but Khan, who already had Somir scales and Drake scales, found them completely useless for him. But there was a subordinate who could make the best use of their fighting abilities via skills related to their species. "Come out," ordered Khan, and a 4-meter-tall and muscular subordinate jumped out of his body. It was one of the 6 generals who had the least time to shine so far despite having so many offensive and attack buff skills. "Jugram, the Berserker." "Your orders, my master," spoke Jugram. His voice was very mature. Although his entire body was covered in knight-like armor, he was the one with the lowest levels and trashiest gear. At best, he had a rare rank giant's word on him. He wasn't even a lord rank subordinate yet. "It's time for you to level up," spoke Khan. Jugram nodded in response. He could use dual swords, axes, and giant's words. But Khan never had a proper opportunity for upgrading this general ever since he died at the hands of the Magma Drake dungeon boss. After Jugram was resurrected, he didn't get a chance to do it because there were eyes on him all the time. But now, he was finally going to raise this general in ranks. "Merge," commanded Khan, and used 1,000 rank cores for the synthesis process that would aid Jugram to level up while he is merging. After 40 minutes, he was finished with the merging procedure, and now an 8-meter-tall body stood in the middle of the room. After the upgrade, Jugram's appearance turned to a demonic creature with 2 glowing red horns coming out from the 2 sides of his head. And his entire body was covered in black and red exoskeleton armor with multiple pointy bones protruding from his forearms, shoulders, knees. There was also a red glow coming out of his chest as if a fire was burning in the center. Jugram's new form looked like a demon who arose from the pits of hell. Just with his presence alone, the temperature of the room had risen and Jugram leaked a pure red aura that was so intense that even the water nearby would start boiling. Since Khan had thermal body ability, he didn't feel a difference, but Ronan, who stood beside him, had already started sweating just in a matter of 30 seconds. The floor itself barely managed to hold off Jugram's weight without cracking. Khan noticed that Jugram now inherited physical traits of both the Demonkin Va. The Botur had evolved to a new different species since he too was a variant. To him, it felt like Doomsday Va sort of morphed together and became Jugram. Author. Reference art for Jugram's new form given in chapter comments. Check it out. System, show me his stats and abilities. Spoke Khan. Congratulations to the host for upgrading the subordinate to a higher rank. The subordinate named Jugram has unlocked a true demon bloodline. The rank and bloodline can be evolved by merging the subordinate with specimens with higher rank and true demon bloodline purity. Current bloodline purity, 20%. Following are the statistics and abilities. Name Jugram. Species: Chaos Demon, Variant True Demon. Job: Hell Berserker. Rank: High Lord. Level 91. Strength: 2313. Agility: 1826. Dexterity: 2196. Defense: 1979. Mana: 1284. Following are the physical abilities VA skills. Frenzy Berserker, SS rank. Active. The subordinate can enter a frenzied state for 10 minutes, during which his strength and defense will be raised by 200%, while the attack damage will increase by 300%. Note: the duration and boost in this ability can be raised with the increase in levels and rank. Rage Demon, SS rank. Active. The subordinate will enter a rage mode where all of his physical and magical skills will be multiplied by 400% for 5 minutes. Note: the subordinate will enter a weakened state for 4 hours after this ability is deactivated. Following are the magical skills and abilities. Inferno Domain, SS rank. Active. The subordinate can create a 500-meter battlefield filled with hellfire and magma. All the enemies in this field will have their strength and defense reduced by 60%. Note: the effective range of this ability will increase with the increase in levels and rank. Bloodstorm, S rank. Passive. Upgradable. The subordinate can drain out the blood from dead beings during a battle and use it as a high-pressure bloodstorm for 300 meters. Chaos Lord, SSS rank. Passive. Upgradable. The more enemies the subordinate kills and their blood is absorbed by him in 1 kilometer radius, the more strength, defense, and attack buff will be gained by the subordinate over time. Note: the effective range and the buff received will increase with the rise in levels and rank. The system informed him about the new upgrades. Khan, who barely recovered from Armin unlocking a legendary class recently, was left shocked again. Somehow, this synthesis had helped Jugram unlock a truly unique class. The Semi-Saint Demonkin must have possessed a rare true demon bloodline to a small extent and triggered this change during the merging process. The same way Omega unlocked the God-Beast Fenrir bloodline months ago. He thought all of Jugram's abilities made him a one-man army who could take out thousands of enemies by himself. All he had to do was kill people and survive till the number of dead bodies piled up. Forget being Khan's subordinate. The Chaos Lord skill alone made Jugram a dungeon boss himself. To this new revelation, Khan asked himself with eyes full of disbelief. Did I just create a demon lord? Khan looked at the Chaos Demon subordinate as if he was looking at a freak of nature. Because based on the bloodline and skills, Jugram had indeed become his third strongest subordinate after Rudra Vasseril. He even surpassed Blackwell in the aspect of fighting a long battle. If Khan managed to gain him higher true demon bloodlines, Va merged with higher rank beings of the same species. Jugram would be a demon lord in the making. And what would happen if Armin healed him after he came close to death? That scenario alone made Khan get excited. System: give him all my swordsmanship skills, including Sword King, Defense Shatter Va Sword Battlemaster, and also impart the Metamorphosis bloodline. Commanded Khan. Khan could indeed choose to give these abilities to Jugram because even though their weapon of choice was different, the skills were applicable to both of their classes since both used swords as their main weapon. The only difference was that he used a greatsword while Jugram used a giantsword till now. Command accepted. Impartation of skills Va bloodlines completed. The subordinate named Jugram has met the conditions to acquire a human form. Replied system: do it. Commanded Khan to Jugram, and the next second, his physical appearance was reduced by half its original size. However, the bulging muscles and broad physique still kept its traits even after Jugram took a human form. He was now a 4-meter-tall human with every aspect of his body screaming ultra-masculinity. A broad and chiseled jaw, 8-pack abs and arms that were the size of Khan's thighs, a subtle beard and legs that looked even harder than steel. Every part of his physique spelled only 2 words: muscles. And muscles. Giga Chad. Is that you? Thought Khan after looking at Jugram's physique. Although he no longer had any horns or bony armor on his body. Jugram had retained the size similar to the semi-saint rank demonkin. So Khan now had the perfect gear for the Hell Berserker. He quickly took out a black giant's word and black armor. These were the weapon and armor personally used by the clan leader of the Volstov clan. Even with the 20 levels decrease in the human form, the epic rank giant's word and armor would already make Jugram capable enough to easily fight a peak Grandmaster opponent on even grounds. And that was more than enough for Khan. After Jugram wore all the equipment, Va grabbed the giant's word in his hands. Khan was instantly reminded of a certain black swordsman. Because with the giant's word that resembled a lot to Dragon Slayer Va, the armor that had a helmet covering only half of the face resembling the Berserker armor made Jugram look like Khan's own version of the protagonist of a certain manga. Good, now I have Guts as part of my team. He thought. Author, reference art for Guts. I mean Jugram in the human form given in chapter comments. Check it out. In his opinion, Jugram was already strong enough to fight Arkham equally, and after Khan gave him the Sword King Va Sword Battlemaster skill, mixed with Jugram's own offensive skills, he could easily kill him in a one-sided massacre. Jugram, from now on, you will be in charge of protecting the company building and people in it. Spoke Khan as he gave a firm command to the subordinate who was twice his size. As you command, master, responded Jugram. Even his voice now sounded like Chris Hemsworth's Thor. This guy was literally overshadowing Khan Va the rest of the subordinates in the manliness aspect. And now, with Ronin in charge of protecting Albestros and Jugram, who could fight 1,000 people by himself after getting Khan's swordsmanship skills, left in charge of the security of the company. He no longer had any worries of his entourage being left defenseless. And top of it all, there were other subordinates too who could serve under the command of these two. So unless the enemy side had a semi-saint rank or a first-stage saint rank fighters that were 1 in a 10 million, no one would be able to take out these two generals easily. Khan was now content with the results and happy to have another important issue sorted. But just as he was about to leave the room, another voice rang in his head, and this voice belonged to none other than the first subordinate he ever created. Omega, Master, I'm ready, spoke Omega in Khan's head. Not here. You're too big for this room, replied Khan. Jugram's new Chaos Demon form barely fit inside this room and nearly touched the ceiling before the transformation into a human form. So Omega, who was now 12 meters in height, would either break the floor or put a hole in the ceiling. So Khan didn't want to cause a commotion. But, Omega tried to retort. I already said it. Wait till I find a proper place, ordered Khan. During the day, Khan introduced Jugram as the new head of security that he hired yesterday to Albestros and the company employees via an announcement in the meeting hall. Just with Jugram releasing the aura similar to a peak Grandmaster rank swordsman had assured all of their employees, and they too welcomed his addition. Meanwhile, many tall women, mainly the ones belonging to the Elven Va Ogre race, tried to get noticed by and come closer to the Hell Berserker subordinate. His giant's word and black armor he wore were oozing his domineering nature to everyone who saw him. Khan, on the other hand, had a somber expression. By no means he wasn't a good-looking guy, but just with Jugram looking 30-plus years old gave him a mature aura, and his masculine appearance had completely stolen whatever thunder Khan was getting in just half a day. Khan was being bamboozled by his own creation. But throughout the day, Omega was eating his ear just to get out of his shadow despite being scolded many times. When the night finally fell and Khan stood in a dense tree-line area, he released Omega out of his shadow. Master, I'm ready, spoke Omega in an overjoyed tone. How many times are you going to say that? It's the same line you've been repeating the entire day. Couldn't you wait any longer? Asked Khan in an annoyed tone. Well, the truth is, spoke Omega, and even his 12-meter-tall monstrous Va beastly figure failed to hide his shying expression as the Leakin spoke again. I was feeling jealous. Khan stood in front of Omega, the Leakin subordinate, who had been resurrected before he left Flavit City, and had been in a dormant state for nearly a month, because Khan gave him over 1,000 monster cores to absorb and raise his levels. Just this morning, he upgraded Jugram to a High Lord rank, and the subordinate invoked a rare true demon bloodline as he ended up as unique variant called the Chaos Demon. There was also the unique class job named Hell Berserker. But on the very same day, Omega had also completed the absorbing procedure and asked Khan to be let out as well. Khan looked at the subordinate, who was also his first ally ever since he came to this new world. After Omega was merged with Arkham, he too gained the unique class job called Magic Swordsman. And the main specialty of this job was that the user could not only use their aura but also an elemental attribute that they had the highest affinity within their attacks and skills. For example, Arkham had a high affinity with the water element, and thus, his job-specific skills such as the high-pressure compressed water aura blades were the mixture of mana, aura, and elemental attributes. Even Khan had a hard time facing that man head-on. Only his darkness barrier proved useful to hold off those attacks properly. Khan was certain that if not for skills such as darkness barrier Vasomir scales, he would have been cut in half from a single hit alone. So now, Omega had also unlocked this job after being merged with Arkham's dead body and rose to High Lord as well. Previously, he and Cyril hadn't met the conditions to take a human form, and hence, Khan had offered them 1,000 rank cores to eat and raise their levels. And now he was finally ready. But unlike before, Omega's giant 12-meter-tall body now had strands of silver hair here and there. "System, why is he suddenly turning silver?" asked Khan. The subordinate named Omega has a bloodline of the god-beast Fenrir, who has the silver hair on their bodies. The current Fenrir bloodline purity of the subordinate Omega is 25%, and after rising to the High Lord rank, the characteristics of this bloodline are showing up. Soon, the subordinate will be turned completely silver instead of black as his levels and rank rises. Explained the system. "I see," spoke Khan and nodded. Omega looked at Khan and spoke in an obedient voice. "Master, I must take a human form for now. I cannot use the swordsmanship skills I've received in my current form." "Understood. Begin," Khan commanded, and Omega's body started shrinking down, and a human body, just a few inches taller than Khan, came to be. A handsome and domineering man with ashen hair that had small strands of black silver hair in them, with a lean and well-toned build, stood in front of him. There were few black archaic tattoos spread over his body. His appearance was that of a man around the age of 28 to 29 years. The ashen hair and glimmering red eyes gave him an appearance of the textbook vampire protagonist of some novel. His countenance had an aura of maturity, and his body, full of muscles, was well-balanced. Unlike Jugram, who was extremely buff, Omega's human appearance leaned towards the mesomorph build. Khan took out a set of white regal attire that he bought very recently. But since black was his color, he hadn't used them even now. But given Omega's new human appearance, this suit made of a white long coat and pants, black inner jacket, and a blue shirt with a tie seemed the most appropriate. Omega looked like a total badass. Like the main boss of some Yakuza clan. Khan now stood in front of Omega, who was now adorned in this new appearance. Author: Omega Human Form reference art given in chapter comments. Check it out. Khan gave the epic rank claymore sword that once belonged to Arkham to Omega. But the next second, the subordinate spoke. "Sorry, Master, but I'm not suited to use this type of sword. I will need a new one suitable to my new form and speed." "Huh? What do you mean?" asked Khan. "This type of sword will slow me down," he replied. "I need a different type of sword. A single-edged curved blade, and it has to be very thin and sturdy at the same time. And I should be able to hold it with both hands as well. Otherwise, I won't be able to fight. I don't know why, but I just can't shake that feeling," explained Omega in his mature and rustic tone. "Like a katana," spoke Khan. This sudden revelation about feeling the need to use a different type of weapon made Khan feel suspicious. "System, show me his stats and skills. Following are the statistics and abilities. Name: Omega. Species: Leakin, variant Fenrir. Job: Magic Swordsman. Rank: High Lord. Level: 97. Strength: 2,543. Agility: 2,410. Dexterity: 2,496. Defense: 2,270. Mana, 1,398. Fenrir bloodline purity, 25%. Following are the physical abilities Va skills. Shredder Claws, A rank. Gathers extremely destructive mana around subordinates' claws to execute long-range claw attacks. Bloodline Boost, SS rank. Chosen bloodline effects absorbed from other godbeast species can be used for 1 hour. Bloodlust, S rank. Active. Allows the subordinate to focus killing intent on everyone in a 300-meter radius and put them in a fearful state for 20 minutes. Tyrant's Roar, A rank. Active. The subordinate's roar can disorient anyone except the host and fellow subordinates in a 600-meter radius. Shadow Swap, B rank. Active. The subordinate can instantly teleport to a location in sight containing a shadow. Leaken Tyrant, S rank. Passive. Allows the subordinate to command Va exert authority on any Lycos wolf-related species. Devourer, SSS rank. Passive. Allows the subordinate to absorb Va purify the bloodlines of other godbeast species. Note: the innate ability has risen in ranks after merging with the metamorphosis bloodline host imparted to the subordinate. Following are the magical abilities Va skills. Quick Draw, SS rank. Active. Allows the subordinate to instantly increase his speed by 500% for 10 seconds. Current range, 200 meters. Note: this technique can be used to target and multiple enemies at once. The number of targets and effective range will rise with the increase in mastery of this combat technique and the level's Va rank of the subordinate. Sword Intent, SSS rank. Passive. Allows the subordinate to comprehend sword skills and techniques at a fast pace. Note: the subordinate will be able to drastically improve swordsmanship skills after practicing them. Mirage Blades, S rank. Active. Allows the subordinate to create 50 mirage swords made of aura, mana, and elemental attributes. High Regeneration, S rank. Passive. Allows the subordinate to constantly heal itself at an extremely fast pace. Elemental Domain, SS rank. Active. Allows the subordinate to create a 500-meter radius domain in which the subordinate can control all elemental attributed attacks and spells for 2 minutes. The host is advised to upgrade the subordinate with more godbeast bloodlines. Replied the system: "Great. You've really grown very strong." Khan congratulated. System: "Give him all of my swordsmanship skills." He commanded. Command completed. Omega's body suddenly glowed with a silver aura, and his face turned very pleased with the skills he received. Now, he had become on par with Jugram in terms of fighting skills and abilities. Khan understood why Omega wanted to change weapons. It was the quick draw skill which required a weapon that could be used with precise accuracy and speed to deliver the killing strike without wasting a single second. Exactly like the Japanese anime samurai warriors. The sword intent skill, on the other hand, made Omega a swordsmanship prodigy. Arkham's years of battle experience triggered Va created this skill, and Omega benefited from it. It was like Omega's own version of weapon mastery blessings. The one Khan was given by Kravel, the war deity, just only for sword weapons. By using the Bloodlust elemental domain, Mirage Blade's Va Quickdraw skill along with Sword King Va Sword Battlemaster skills Khan just gave him. The current Omega was enough to take out 1,000 enemies in matter of half an hour. Truly fitting to become Khan's right-hand man. And the Devourer skill would probably make Omega someone comparable to Rudra in terms of strength and abilities. All Khan needed was to kill and merge a god beast with Omega, and the subordinates would be able to absorb their bloodlines and abilities just like Khan could. "I have a request," spoke Omega. "What do you want?" asked Khan with a curious expression. The next second, Omega replied like an impatient child with a high-pitched tone. "I want a katana." The next morning, Khan introduced Omega as the new addition of their security who would also serve as Khan's right-hand man whether it was business or any other matters related to security. Albestros, on the other hand, was completely baffled. Because one by one, Khan was bringing peak Grandmaster rank personnel day after day. As if they weren't some rare and one-in-a-million warriors but fruits that grew on trees, easy to find in a nearby market. "Old man, he has a request for you," spoke Khan as he introduced Omega to Albestros. "Sir Winston, pleased to make your acquaintance," said Omega with a respectful tone and slightly bowed to the old man. "Likewise. How may I help you?" greeted Albestros. For the next few minutes, both Khan and Omega described how they wanted the katana to be done. Khan, who had watched enough katana forging videos on the internet, explained how the old man could make the sword that was one of the most popular types of swords in the entire otaku community on Earth. Although I've never made this type of sword before. I did read about these types of swords used in some of the cultures in empires far away from ours. But it will take some time though. I don't want to mess up the sword's durability or balance just because I've never tried it before," spoke Albestros. Khan understood that since no heroes of the gods had come in this empire in the past millennium, on the record that is, it was reasonable for the population here to not know about their weapons va cultures. "I see. Please take your time, sir. I will be eagerly waiting for that day," spoke Omega and stood behind Khan like an obedient ally. Khan also resisted the urge to ask Albestros for making him one too. Omega needed it, so he was given the priority. Just like all the otakus, nerds and weebs, he too liked katanas and always wanted to hold one in his hands. Because those who didn't like katanas va samurai warrior culture were seen as heretics in their community. "As for the materials, go all out," spoke Khan. Their current stock for materials and resources before their business officially opened was more than enough. They even had the rare adamantite metal, or that was a rank above mithril. So Khan gave him the permission to use their rarest materials for Omega's new sword. "Till then, I'll take a walk in the market and check the prices for weapons and armors. We haven't joined a business council yet, so we might create trouble for ourselves if we sold weapons too cheap or too overpriced," he said and left with Omega. As the duo treaded through the Rukon district till evening, they visited all known and reputed blacksmith shops and checked their price range in the name of looking for a weapon. One thing Khan noticed was that despite the manufacturing cost being around 300 gold coins, many of the good weapons were sold at the price of 800 to 1,000 gold coins. And the only key difference was that there was a brand or the company name of the Grandmaster Blacksmith attached to it, which raised the price by 2 to 3 times. Just like the overpriced branded shoes or bags that were advertised through celebrities but were not even worth half the price in reality. But during their visits, Khan also noticed a remarkable trait about Omega. The Leakin subordinate, after merging with Arkham and taking a human form, had become a sword fanatic. To every weapon shop they went, Omega was ogling at the high-quality swords like how little kids looked at chocolate. Even after refusing, Khan still ended up buying 4 rare rank swords that Omega would probably never use but still wanted to keep as part of his collection. Khan took out a space ring from his pockets and handed it to the subordinate in case he needed to store his belongings there. Because the amount of adoration Omega was suddenly showing towards swords already gave Khan a foreboding of unnecessary expenditures on collecting swords. Like how the hardcore fanboys collected the action figures of their favorite superhero, video games, and anime waifus. Omega was no different than those weebs. He didn't even bother checking the weight, durability, or balance of the swords. Rather, only their appearance va how well carved they were. Khan's Lucifer was also a small rank above epic rank but below the legendary rank. And the swords they bought weren't even half as good as he wanted but still cost him 40,000 gold coins. But from this experience, he learned how important brand value was. Although he already knew the basics, it was still a completely different feeling when it came to running a business yourself. Since they were going to open for business soon in the next few days, Khan had to think of a clever strategy that would not only gain their company a big amount of customers but would also spread their reputation and name amongst the masses. A big boost such as this would catapult them quickly to become one of the big businesses if they played their cards right. A sinister plan hatched in his mind that would put the market in shambles but also benefit their business greatly. The next day, Khan made another announcement in the main meeting hall where all the important members of their company were present. But unlike 2 days ago, not only did this announcement introduce Omega as part of their company, adding another peak Grandmaster warrior in their ranks, but also a mind-blowing announcement that left everyone, including Albestros, the Grandmaster blacksmith, speechless. Khan now stood in the middle of the stage, and nearly 800 employees who were rooted on the spot stared at him with a bewildered expression. Khan decided to repeat his words and spoke loudly for everyone to hear. So from the first day of our official launch, he took a pause and grinned. We will sell all our products at half the market price. The day had finally come. All the hard work done in the past 3 weeks finally bloomed the flower that would signify the new chapter of Khan's life. In the past 1 week alone, the company had received over 300 small distributors who would sell their products to different small shops, and then the major clans, institutions, and organizations that also needed weaponry in bulk had been informed of this new company's shocking price range. Khan had several advertisement companies and even some small clans to spread the word about their grand opening how they were going to sell the same quality equipment at half the price. And he did it in the evening time so other companies could not react to their bold move in time or try to halt their opening in any way. Many did not believe these claims, and some called it a publicity stunt to attract customers. That the Bloodborne company would not actually deliver upon their word or the products would be faulty. But for Khan, who paid 3 million gold for this word of mouth, just for the advertisement in Rukon district alone, bad publicity was still publicity. He had no use for barking dogs but the actual customers who would come to buy their weapons armors by visiting their shops, and the rich folks who would buy from them in bulks. Albestros had been instructing and teaching the newly hired blacksmiths about how to make standard and good quality weapons and armor most effectively. And in the past 2 weeks, his efforts yielded results, and now they already had enough stocks for the first month. But after Khan's wild proclamation yesterday, even he was baffled and had a heated discussion with the young man. But after hearing his reasoning, he too was surprised by how cunning Khan was when it came to business tactics. As if the young swordsman had a decade of experience working in this field. What Khan proposed wasn't about selling their products for half the price that would spell their doom, but to level down the market and fit it to their own needs by dropping the prices by half. If a high-rank sword were to be sold at 1,000 gold coins, they would sell it at 500 gold coins. But since the manufacturing cost was only 300 gold coins to begin with, they'd still make a profit of 200 gold coins. What Khan's plan wasn't to undermine their product, but steal half of the customers of major enterprises who also sold arms in this district. Just with the lucrative offer of selling weapons at half the price, their shops would be flooded with customers. And as time went on, even more customers would come after the word about it spread to the right people. Not only that would build them a huge consumer base in just a matter of months, but also skyrocket their popularity, their company's name, and also the Albestros, the Grandmaster blacksmith's reputation. In a way, this would also be a declaration that there was a new Grandmaster blacksmith in the Rathna, although they would not profit the way they estimated. What Khan wanted was to ingrain their name in the minds of the population that had jobs and professions or made a living based on weapons or armor crafting. Instead of 10, they would only make 4. And half of the profit would be spent on keeping the business afloat, such as buying resources, paying the employees and their distributors. But contrary to what normal people would think, this was the best and most effective way to expand your brand and settle your feet in the business world. And naturally, their actions would break the balance in the market and would affect the business of other enterprises and force them to reduce their price range of respective products. What Khan was doing was no different than kicking them in the crotch and stealing their food at the same time. But he didn't care about it at all. None of them were his friends or family. And if he wanted to make a living in this industry full of wolves and hyenas, it was inevitable that he'd have to challenge and fight against others eventually. So why wait for someone to start picking on you later when you can put a hole in their pockets before they even consider you as their rival? It didn't matter which organization or which Grandmaster blacksmith lost their business because of him. It was none of his problem. This method in no way was a good business strategy. But it was what they needed the most. Because even with grand proclamations of reputation and quality, Normal people would not be interested in your product unless you sold them considerably cheaper. Khan was willing to take the losses if it meant setting them up for the long run. Plus, with the price difference alone. Many big clans and organizations would also ditch their previous partners in order to save money and make deals with them. Also, gaining their support would increase the amount of powerful backing Khan's company had. Just with the name of the Vanderite clan alone, it would deter the vultures, and only if someone had the backing of another powerful force would they dare to mess up with their company. At this moment, the company building was decorated as if it wasn't a business opening but some billionaire's wedding. There were various stores spread around Rukon district that Khan had rented on annual basis. The name of the new weapon enterprise, the Bloodborne, was written on their entrance. And in front of all of these stores were hundreds of people already gathered since the morning. Khan, who foresaw this, had several of his subordinates hidden and working as security in these shops along with the normal guards while masking their appearance with armors via helmets. As the main company building was now crowded with nearly 3,000 people of different species and races. The prestigious clan heads and influential figures had started coming to this official grand opening. The security was tight, and just with the presence of Jugram Va Omega, the supposed peak Grandmaster rank warriors alone. Nobody dared to cause trouble. Khan was acting as the person in charge of greeting and welcoming their important guests. Tap, tap, tap. Suddenly, an entourage of highly geared warriors donned in white and golden armors and weapons stopped in front of the main entrance. A luxurious high-grade carriage stopped in front of it and 3 figures walked out of it. One tall and regal-looking man who was followed by a young man and a woman entered the premises. As soon as all the guests started noticing this new group, hundreds of gasps filled the surroundings as nobody could believe that someone of this standing would actually come for this opening ceremony. Khan came to personally welcome this group. His countenance showed nothing but respect towards the regal and domineering man who stood in the middle of the crowd. He bowed respectfully and spoke. "Welcome to our grand opening, Lord Clan Leader of the Vanderite clan." The entire crowd amassed in the company grounds that had been invited was rooted on the spot. Many were still not able to digest the fact that the 4th stage Saint rank clan leader of one of the strongest clans in the entire Rocco's empire would personally come to the opening of a small company that didn't even have 100,000 employees or several branches spread throughout the empire. The guests, who only came as part of obligation and to explore this new company that had a rising Grandmaster blacksmith, were flabbergasted. Because to them, they only came here to make connections and business deals before others smelled the meat. But suddenly, one of the top clan's leader, who also represented the clan that lead one of the top 3 factions in the entire empire, was now standing in the middle of the crowd and turned out to be one of the guests as well. To Khan's greeting, Ismatrazil only slightly nodded, maintaining the regal and domineering appearance of the Vanderite clan. Khan, on the other hand, looked at Sale as if the young heir had done something that they didn't plan at all. Vivian, who was standing beside Sale, looked at Khan with vengeful eyes as if he had stolen her first kiss. Although she was nearly 80 years old, she appeared only a year older than Khan because of how vampires aged as a species. But unlike before, her appearance looked defeated. Her once soft and radiant face was nowhere to be seen, but instead, she now had a sullen appearance as if she had been greatly tortured, like a broken doll that had been put back together after breaking it piece by piece. The vampire lord then shared pleasantries with Albestros, the owner of the company in name. And soon, an amiable conversation between the 2 experienced people in their respective fields started that affirmed people's belief about the vampire clan leader indeed coming there to form a relationship with the old man. Although there were over 20 Grandmaster rank blacksmiths in Rathna alone, they were highly sought after, and sometimes, rich noble clans and warriors would even pay them millions of gold coins just to have these blacksmiths make their custom-made weapons and armors. They even provided the materials and resources themselves, and hence, they were in high demand, and each of these individuals was greatly respected even by noble clans. If any faction tried to oppress or force them to work for their side alone, others would use that opportunity to gang up on that clan or even declare war on them. Plus, the connections these grandmasters had with top-rank warriors also made them someone with enough backing as well. Albestros also qualified to be one of them, but he never had any connections with top clans of the capital. If not for Khan personally visiting all these important figures and using the Vanderite clan to spread the news about the old man from behind the shadows, many would not even take this opening ceremony seriously. Some would have even questioned the authenticity of the old man being a grandmaster blacksmith in the first place. With their presence alone, it was revealed to everyone that even one of the strongest clans in their entire empire had acknowledged the Bloodborne Company as someone worthy of working along with. That this weapon enterprise already had a behemoth as their powerful backer. To Khan, this would give their company a huge spike in reputation and declare that they were indeed a real deal. After today, when the news of Ismatrazil personally coming to their opening ceremony spreads among the top-ranked clans and organizations, everyone would be compelled to hire them, make deals with them for arms supply, and many requests for cooperation with Albestros at a high price would line up in front of them. At the current moment, Khan appeared as a representative and a speaker to all the important guests, who was Albestros's right-hand man and also the one in charge of logistics and management. The number of people who actually knew that he was actually a semi-saint rank fighter in reality could be counted under 2 digits. The seemingly harmless and cheerful young man was only seen as the blacksmith's underling. As the evening finally came, Khan gave all the important guests and possible business partners a tour of the main company building. An impeccable taste in furniture, well-organized office structure, highly advanced machinery for crafting, and a well-structured production system that ensured quality products left many of these influential figures pleased. Because unlike some medieval-era settings, magic was incorporated in the majority of the machines and equipment to avoid wastage of resources while properly making weapons. It wasn't just burning furnaces, anvils, and hammers used for forging, but also equipments to hammer down, study the composition and designs of the required product. Although it would be the trained people doing the work in the end, just by using these high-cost machines to create the arms had made a good impression on everyone. Khan, who had wasted 70% of the money he had just on these high-end machines and equipments alone, felt like it was worth the money. Because now, the majority of these people would be inclined to work with them for the long term if the company could provide quality products at half the market price. Even other clans of the pureblood faction and organizations would be compelled to do business with them. After the entertainment programs with delicious food was served to all the guests at night, Khan finally managed to talk with the vampire lord alone. He sat next to the clan leader and asked, "I didn't expect you to come here, Lord Clan Leader. Only Sale was supposed to come today. Am I to assume you are displeased with my presence then?" asked Ismatrazil in return. "No, I didn't mean it that way. It was simply unexpected," replied Khan. The vampire lord gave a smug smile and spoke. "I only came here to ensure that the company we were backing didn't appear weak or defenseless in any way. If not for me, many of the guests would have doubted your claims and caused a scene. Not everyone who came here is your well-wisher," spoke the 4th stage saint rank warrior. "Besides, you've made quite the enemies just with the half-price stunt you pulled," he explained. "I understand, but you should also be aware of how big of a target you put on us just by coming here," spoke Khan with an annoyed expression. "Are you afraid?" asked the vampire coyly and chuckled. "If you get into trouble, I can always take you in my clan," he said mischievously, as if trying to toy with Khan. Khan rolled his eyes in response. "Conflict never happens as per our expectations anyway. I guess it will come sooner than later," sighed Khan. The opening ceremony was a great success. They made a great impression and attracted the right people they needed. And all that remained was them to get fully available to everyone for commerce, and the business was bound to take off. But to Khan, this was but a beginning, because from tomorrow, the real battle would start. The first day after the grand opening was their turn to officially start doing business in the city. And after yesterday's incident, Khan poured another 2 million gold coins to spread the news in the entire district that the clan leader of the vampire clan personally came to the opening ceremony because he acknowledged Albestros Winston, the newly rising Grandmaster blacksmith skills. With this information spread amongst the masses, there was a big uproar in the weapon industry. Although Rukon district was more famous for alchemy va pharmaceutical commerce, a sudden rise of a weapon enterprise, and that too with a Grandmaster blacksmith holding the command, had attracted many eyes. And because of that, all the 11 stores that were directly under the company's name along with the 23 small shops that had bought dealerships of their products were now spread around the 200 kilometers area district. Khan already had enough distributors for the beginning, but after yesterday's incident, they had an influx of people who wanted to buy dealerships' permission. A distributor was an independent selling agent who has a contract to sell the products of a manufacturer, but is not entitled to use the manufacturer's trade name as part of its trade name. The contract may also limit the distributor to selling only that company's goods, rather than marketing different products and services from different firms. The manufacturer sold the distributor the products at wholesale prices. A dealership is sometimes called a retail distributor. It is similar to a distributorship, except that a dealer usually sells only to the public. Unlike other types of franchisees, including distributors, a dealer is not usually restricted to carrying one product line. Most commonly, this type of arrangement is found in the automotive industry, like a chain store system or a convenience store. In this case, Khan's Bloodborne company was the manufacturer who provided the product and let others sell things at their own rates. And naturally, the wholesale rate for these people was lower than what he'd sell at market price. But since these distributors va dealers bought their product in huge bulks, the deal was profitable for him either way. Because if they sold all the product to individual customers, they'd need a lot more time, and also the company won't be able to produce and store the new product at a fast pace. But to avoid unnecessary leechers and trolls who didn't actually come to buy but waste time, there were signboards on the entrances and the main counters in all of the shops owned by the company. No haggling or bargaining allowed. Because they were already selling at half the market price, any more would put a big dent in their earnings. And to throw out the people who intentionally came to cause trouble for them, such as their rivals or someone sent by their competitors, Khan left 2 peak master rank fighters in each of these stores. He currently had 65 master rank va 8 beginner grandmaster subordinates, so it was the best time to use them. As the judgment day finally came, each of their stores were crowded with thousands of people as soon the doors were opened to the public. Plenty of people, who had been saving up to buy good weapons and armors, flooded their shops, and the staff working there had their hands full. Some people even tried to compare their products such as swords, spears, arrows, and shields with the same equipment they bought from other franchises, only to find that the quality being even superior compared to the ones sold at double the price. When the evening finally came and the shops were closed, more than 80% of the stock was sold off, and collective numbers of selling from all the respective shops were tallied by Khan at the night as he checked the ledgers and reports. He gave a wide grin and spoke with a merry tone. "Serves you right," exclaimed Khan with a victorious expression. On the first day alone, 30% of the stock that was kept for selling in their own shops was sold off. And now Khan had no worries about not being able to launch their enterprise at a grand scale. Given how the opening day of their business took off, there would be even more customers coming in the following days and weeks as the word of their company spread to masses and the people that dealt in these professions. Soon, the Bloodborne company will rise in fame and reputation as time went on. Omega, who was now in charge of security of shipments to these shops and personally overlooked the transportation of the product to all their shops and then gather the total wealth they gained, finally returned at late night.
Just like Ronin và Ugram.
He too had gained quite the fangirls around the stores and the company building based on his cold and mature looks that gave him an appearance of a mysterious man, the kind who would attract the main female lead of some romance novel. But given his strength and position, only the most daring females approached him, only to get turned down by him, because he had no attraction towards the opposite gender. Rather than being interested in curves of a woman, he was interested in curves of a sword. "Master, I've brought today's earnings." Omega spoke and handed 2 space rings. After counting the money, Khan was exhilarated on the spot. The first day earning in profits alone was 2.3 million gold coins. "Stonk," spoke Khan as he folded his arms. At this same moment, there was a heated discussion happening inside a prestigious kin company's head office. Bang! A snakekin dressed in high-class businessman clothes banged his fist on the table. In front of him were 4 more people sitting in this room. Every single one of them looked like a big name in the business industry based on their clothing alone. Why I haven't heard of this Albestros Winston before. And where did he come from so suddenly? No one can set up such a big business without causing a commotion first. Their opening day alone caused us 15% losses in total earnings," said the Snakekin. They even received an acknowledgement from the Vandereyck clan. By no means this Grandmaster Blacksmith is a nobody. We can't just go knocking on their doors without a proper plan," spoke an old blue thrall who sat amongst the people. "Let's bury these ants before they become a threat to our business. I still have a way or two to squander these insects," spoke the Snakekin as he gave a sinister smile. "Let's see how long does this Bloodborne company lasts." 1 week had passed ever since the Bloodborne company entered the market in the weapons manufacturing sector. The first week was very fruitful, and because of Khan's impeccable planning on creating the hype around their brand using the half-price announcement, having a Grandmaster Blacksmith in command and the public acknowledgement from the Vandereyck clan's leader, who personally came to their opening ceremony. The number of customers they built in just the first week was something others didn't make even in a couple of years of doing business. All the prior setup and pre-planned advertisement had greatly benefited their business. Khan had invested around 21 million gold coins from beginning to end. All the money he had gathered from robbing the dead people such as Dormammu, Arkham Solomon was all spent in just the initial launch of their company. He barely had 2 million coins left. But in the first 1 week of successfully launching their company, the profits alone were past 14 million. Even with half the cost they charged for weapons and armors than other companies. The sheer number of customers alone made up for the losses. By tallying the ledgers and record books, Khan found that they've had nearly 18,600 customers cumulatively. And these were just your normal day-to-day small-income folks. The real big guns were the clans and organizations who needed these weapons and armors in tens of thousands. Their company received 7 big orders that were to be finished by the end of this month. And as a form of down payment alone, Khan received 40 million gold coins as half of the payment based on the terms and conditions of their business contract. So by only investing more than 20 million, he gained 50 million in just 1 week. "Business is booming," spoke Khan as he happily tallied the record books and ledgers. "Knock, knock, come in," spoke Khan as he sat on his luxurious office chair. His main office alone was probably the most costly room in the entire building. Let it be furniture or decorations. Everything was top-notch and grade A when it came to appearance and quality. This was his sacred temple where he met and conducted business deals with all the guests and influential figures, so no way he would have subpar arrangements done here. "Kid, we need to talk," spoke Albestros as he sat down on the cushioned chair on the opposite side of the table. "What is it?" asked Khan. "We're running out of materials and soon will require more workers to raise the production. Plus there are many things that I need to teach these rookies so that they don't mess up the forging. So extra set of hands would be appreciated," said the old man. "Agreed. I thought our current manpower would be enough for the first month, but given the popularity and selling we are making, I'm afraid we will need to start recruitments again or lack of manpower will affect the functionality of the company," replied Khan. "Insufficient manpower would indeed adversely affect them if not taken care of quickly. Based on my estimations, we will need at least 2,000 more employees. The logistics department can manage for now, but we need the normal workers and apprentices first, because we are already flooded with orders and contracts," he spoke. "I hope this doesn't affect our production speed in any way for now. And one more thing, I have it ready," spoke Albestros. "Have ready what?" asked Khan. Just then, Omega, who was dozing off on the sofa placed in Khan's office, suddenly opened his eyes, as if he sensed a great treasure lying underneath the ground. He looked at Albestros with expectant eyes. The old blacksmith nodded in return and took out a sky-blue Damascus katana along with a black curved sheath. The extremely sharp edge would easily cut a paper in two if dropped on the blade. "Behold, another one of my best works. With this katana, you will be able to attack at an extremely fast speed, and the blade itself is made to suit your body build. It will strike like lightning," explained Albestros. Khan was completely surprised by the sudden reveal. although this was the first time for Albestros to make a katana. There was no difference in terms of appearance of the blade compared to the traditional swordsmiths from the old ages on Earth. Exactly how talented was this old man to make such an impeccable sword in his very first try? Omega held the sword with both of his hands and started checking out the edge and the balance. He started swinging it upside down like a traditional kendo practice session. The hell? How does he know that? He didn't even know what a katana was before I told him, thought Khan. Just then, the system that had been dormant for weeks finally spoke. The subordinate named Omega has inherited part of the host's memories, knowledge va personality traits, especially regarding swords and how to use them. The host seemed to have fond memories of this particular weapon, and hence the subordinate has a sense of familiarity with this weapon va fighting style. With time, the subordinate will also unlock more of these memories. This condition is also applied to the other subordinates with a 100% loyalty increase. Explain the system. Son of a bitch. So it basically means he is a katana worshipper like I was in my Chinibu days? And others also share my characteristics via emotional traits. Thought Khan. Omega, on the other hand, placed the sword on the sofa and performed Dajiza in front of it with respect. This was how the Japanese showed respect to someone or something. Damn it. Will he turn into a samurai or something? Asked Khan. Omega looked at the katana with reverence-filled eyes and then glanced at Khan. Master, I want a fitting name for my first weapon. Spoke Omega. Khan then looked at the katana and then Albestros. You said it will strike like a lightning, right? He asked the old blacksmith. Yes, I made it that way, fast and destructive, replied the old man. Sky blue color, fast and destructive like lightning. There's only one name fitting for this katana. Spoke Khan and took a pause. What is it? Asked Omega impatiently. From this time forth, this blade shall be named as Raijin. Khan declared the name of the katana that was lying on the sofa. The name he gave it was Raijin, the mythological god of thunder va lightning. As he explained the meaning of the name except the god part, Omega was touched and instantly approved of the name. He took the sword and kept practicing basic moves. Unlike Khan, he needed to perfect his skills by practicing a lot. Even with the sword intense skill, there was no shortcut for him. Plus, the skills he received from Khan also included the lightning flash skill, which suited his fighting style just perfectly. So rather than waiting on the ceremony, Omega started practicing right away. Knock! Knock! Another knocking sound came from the door, and Jugram, the main person in charge of their security for the company building, who also supervised the Department of Security for all their stores, came inside. Sir Khan, we have a problem, said Jugram as soon as he entered the room. Khan had ordered them to not call him as the master in front of other people, so that's why he addressed him this way, because he already sensed the old man's presence. Khan, Albestros va Omega's ears perked as soon as they heard these words. What happened? Asked Albestros. Sir, take a look at this, replied Jugram and placed a red glowing orb on Khan's desk. It was one of the long-distance transmission magic artifacts that Khan had bought so all the shops directly under them could be in touch in the 200-kilometer-long Rukon district. Although these were extremely costly, Khan had no other options since cell phones weren't invented in this world yet. Even these high-grade magical artifacts had a limited range. But the ones he bought were doubled the price because they had another useful function: recording the visuals where they were placed. So they were used more like CCTV cameras as a measure of security va keeping an eye on the staff members. Jugram was the overseer for this department and hence came to report. As he turned on the magic artifact, the trio saw events of small skirmishes in their shops and people making dissatisfied remarks about their weapons. Some picking up fights with the staff for absolutely no reason. They even went as far as drawing their weapons. Others trying to ward off the incoming customers or telling them how the company is scamming them with faulty products. And this wasn't just one shop, but 7 out of the 11 they owned. Just today, 37 of these incidents happened. Although the security placed in these stores fended off these troublemakers, it's not a good experience for normal customers. If this carries on, we will get a bad reputation. spoke Jugram, his words full of thoughtfulness. Khan had noticed recently that all the subordinates with 100% loyalty were no less intelligent than a normal person. They didn't just follow orders like puppets but also had their own insight and opinions of things around them. "Why didn't you inform me about them before?" asked Khan. "I handled these matters myself in the past 2 days thinking that these were normal. But now I think it's something else," replied Jugram in his rustic voice. "There are always going to be jealous people or troublemakers here and there. These incidents are no exceptions. Just tighten the security and ensure the safety of our employee staff," commanded Khan. Another week went on without any further noticeable events other than these repeated incidents. This time, the guards were straight up ordered to throw out these troublemakers and even prohibit them from entering inside the stores. Anyone who entered the shops had to hand over their weapons first and take them back when they were done exploring Va shopping. Although this had reduced the number of skirmishes, it didn't completely eliminate them, as one could still cause a fight without weapons. What happened during the week was somehow, the news of these small skirmishes was spreading amongst their consumer base at an extremely fast pace, and just in the first 4 days of the week, the Bloodborne company suffered 60% losses in sales compared to the previous week. Khan's face was full of irritation as he was tallying the numbers at night. Compared to the first week, their stores were basically a ghost town in the past few days. What he didn't understand that how the so-called bad publicity was affecting them up to this extent. Small incidents usually don't reach the masses this quickly. This wasn't some cultivation novel world where small quarrels and childish fights between the MC Va, a young master of some clan, reached to the ears of every single citizen of the country for absolutely no reason. In the following days, the incidents continued and the number of customers they were losing started to increase. But what struck like a punch in the face was at the end of the week, 13 of the 24 the clans and organizations who hired them for arms supply suddenly took back their orders, although as per the contract, Khan's company would not have to return the down payment in case the employer decides to back off from the deal midway. And despite the losses, none of these people asked for the money or made any discussions with Khan or Albestros for returning the payment. Khan could swallow down the losses that were coming from the normal customers. At the end of the day, they were but a small source of income. But suddenly, his main source of bread and butter was gone, and his future already looked bleak in just 2 weeks ever since they launched. At that very night, Khan conducted a meeting in secrecy at their mansion. And the members who attended this meeting were Albestros, Omega, Ronin, Jugram, and also the young vampire clan heir, Sale. Khan looked at all the members present, his face full of grim expression and his voice heavy as finally spoke. "We are being targeted by someone very powerful." A silence ensued in the room as soon as Khan made the declaration about how their company in particular was being targeted by someone with a lot of power and authority. "Do you know anything about it?" asked Khan to Sale, who had secretly visited them for the meeting. The reason why Khan asked the vampire clan heir to come for this meeting was because it was already established that their company had the support of the Vanderite clan, since their clan leader himself came to the opening ceremony. And if someone was intentionally trying to put them out of business despite knowing who were the backers of the Bloodborne company, that meant the opposition itself had the galls to pick a fight with one of the strongest clans in the entire empire. And Khan's company was under someone's hit list who didn't fear the wrath of the pureblood faction. He was just collateral damage in the process, although Khan knew that it would happen in the future. But he never expected it to happen in just 2 weeks, and that too with such intensity. And that's exactly why he contacted the young vampire through the jade medallion given by the vampire lord. "I'm as clueless as you are. This reaction is too quick and out of the norm. No different than a declaration of war against our faction," spoke Sale. "And here I thought you'd know something, given how they even threaten the majority of our rich customers. If they can force such big organizations who already have a lot of power in their hands, by no means they're a nobody. This is an enemy I'm not capable of tackling by myself," spoke Khan. His customers weren't some no-names, but to make them back down from the deal meant that whoever it was, they clearly had the backing and power from someone standing at the pinnacle. Could it be the doing of someone from the opposite factions like the demi-human faction? asked Albestros as he rubbed his hand over the grizzly beard. Khan then looked at Sale for an answer. No, can't be them either, although they're at odds with us. They won't go so low to target a small business such as yours. It makes no difference to them even if your business flourishes or gets buried in the ground, explained Sale as he shrugged his arms. This is a very well thought and targeted approach. If this continues, we won't even last for the first month if these losses aren't recovered, said Khan. I have a plan. Suddenly, Jugram spoke as he stood up from his chair. Why don't we catch interrogate one of these troublemakers? About who sent them or who's targeting us? Reasonable. But if we cause a commotion, it might affect the other customers. It's like pouring oil into the fire, said Albestros. Well, it's not like we are faring any better as things stand. So let's go with your plan. Approved Khan, and they kept planning their next move. As the midnight moon shone in the sky, they all returned to their respective rooms. Khan Sale now stood in front of the gates as the vampire heir was ready to depart. Do it the way I told you, otherwise our plan will fail. It's a double-edged sword. If you get caught, both of us will be in a lot of trouble, said Khan. Sale nodded with an understanding gaze and departed with his small group of security guards using an epic rank teleportation scroll that could help them travel 200 kilometers in one go. The next day, all their stores were open as usual and the company carried on the production of arms. But this time, rather than sitting behind the desk, Khan was going to administer one of the shops himself. He, Omega Jugram, covered one of their shops each and waited in case there were to be another incident like the previous days. At the time of the afternoon, just as they expected, a quarrel between the shop staff and one of the customers happened. A blonde and tall elven woman with a bob-cut hairstyle stood against the counter. You bastards are selling this garbage and want us to pay our hard-earned money? Shouted the well-endowed elven female. With her loud voice, over 200 customers who were exploring the weapons and armors in the main hall were startled. I want to speak with the manager. Tap, tap. A set of footsteps were heard as a young man walked into the main hall. What's happening here? Asked Khan to the red demonkin staff girl. Sir, this lady here says that she bought a bow from us yesterday and it broke just in one day. I've already explained that after purchasing the product, we take no guarantee if someone breaks them in a fight, spoke the staff girl dressed in formal black and beige uniform. Khan then glanced at the woman causing the commotion. May I ask what's your name, madam? Asked Khan in a respectful tone. Karen, said the blonde, bob-cut hairstyle elven woman. Facepalm. Khan facepalmed himself and sighed. Should have seen that coming. He thought, who are you? Don't waste my time and call whoever is in charge, shouted the elf archer dressed in lascivious clothes that revealed many openings in her green yellow attire made for archers. Well, I am the manager, spoke Khan in an authoritative tone. You? Someone so young who doesn't have a beard yet is running this place? No wonder you guys only sell trash, scoffed the elven archer. Show me the bow, said Khan with an irritated face. Nobody likes a Karen. This lady was proving why. Hundreds of other customers were watching at this moment, whispering amongst themselves. Khan took the bow in his hand and opened a strap of leather that was covering the part where you hold the bow while shooting an arrow. Khan's expression then turned grim. Bring me a bow from our side, ordered Khan. After a white snakekin staff member handed him a bow from the weapons shelf, Khan pulled out the strap on the same spot. There was a brand mark of 2 coiling dragons over a sword. That was the logo of the Bloodborne Company. This broken bow isn't made by our company. There's always a logo hidden in every weapon we make, spoke Khan this time. His tone was filled with anger. Lies! You're lying! Shouted the elf. Frisk her! Commanded Khan to the security guards, and the 2 of his master-rank subordinates who were hidden within normal guards approached and apprehended the elven archer. Without caring if she was a woman, Khan had no mood to quarrel with a planted troublemaker. Before she could shout, the spear user subordinate closed off Karen's mouth and they dragged her away. Khan then looked at the remaining customers who were staring at him like they were looking at a criminal. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We do not tolerate those who intentionally come here to cause trouble va ruin the mood for other customers. I hope you can carry on your exploring. Spoke Khan and went inside the shop. In an enclosed room, Karen was strapped to a chair by the subordinates. Khan walked in with a grim expression on his face. The subordinates then exited the room and closed it from outside. I don't have time for chit-chat, so let's get straight to the point. Who sent you? Asked Khan in a domineering tone. What do you think you're doing? You think I won't? Slap. A crisp sound of a slap filled the room as Khan's furious eyes landed on the elf woman. Like I said, I don't have time. Now spill out the truth or the next one will hit even harder. He declared. You bastard! Don't you have any shame to hit a woman? Slap! Another slap landed on Karen's face. The slap of justice doesn't discriminate between genders, he said. You bastard! Shouted the woman in a shrill tone. Slap! This time. She almost felt the world around her spinning as another crisp slap hit her beautiful face. Looks like you don't understand how I am being very polite to you, Miss Karen. He spoke and held her chin. Oh my! Have I ruined your pretty face? He asked while grinning. Karen, on the other hand, looked at him very furiously, but she didn't dare to curse or retort lest another slap came from the young man. Like hell I'm gonna tell you, spoke Karen as she stared at him with vengeful eyes. Oh, then I should use another method, I see. Spoke Khan and held her chin up again with his right hand. Boom! Khan released war dominance aura and instantly froze Karen on the spot with his murderous and chaotic pressure. This wasn't even half of his aura, but Karen felt like she was pressured under a mountain. He came close to her face and whispered in her long ear. You know, I have a thing for elven women, so I think it's about time I fully enjoy one. Spoke Khan in a sadistic tone. His fingers that held the chin then caressed her lips as he gave a lecherous smile to Karen. His other hand then reached down from her neck and his forefinger slowly moved downwards towards her big and tall mountains and stopped in between the valley that separated them. Karen on the receiving end was shuddering in fear and her body had goosebumps all over it. She looked at Khan as if she was staring at an executioner. But no words could come out of her mouth. Ma. Is. Tero. Weapon Enterprise. Spoke Karen in her jittery tone. She was scared to death just with his aura full of bloodlust. See. Wasn't too hard, was it? Spoke Khan and quickly returned to old calm and collected demeanor. His face didn't have any desire. Instead, it was filled with contempt. He used tremendous pressure to scare Karen to death. And at the same time, he sensed the danger lurking on her life and body. Khan then spoke with a sinister smile on his face. This is what happens when you ask to speak to the manager. At the end of the evening, when Khan finally returned to the main office building after gathering information on this Maestro Weapon Enterprise, he was certain that it wasn't just this company, but dozens of such forces who treaded in this business and had their branches spread out in Rukon district as well. These people were hiring normal citizens via anyone who needed money to make a scene in the Bloodborne Company's shops, as if all of them decided to gang up on his company for some reason. Before the office hours were to be finished, one of his receptionists, a yellow middle-aged wolfkin, came to his office. Sir, there's an envelope for you, spoke the wolfkin and handed the envelope to him. You may go, spoke Khan and opened the envelope. The contents of the written inside were addressed to Albestros. It was an invitation. So these were the main culprits behind all of this, said Khan as he looked at the name of the organization that sent him this invitation. The Rukon Chamber of Commerce. This was the organization comprised of various business enterprises and forces that did commerce inside this district, which was a great source of income for everyone, let it be a small-time shop or a big franchise. The reason why Khan reached this conclusion that these were the main culprits behind their company's income declining drastically was because of two reasons. Only the Chamber of Commerce would have access and authority to command multiple companies that were part of the organization, to use their resources and manpower to target and seclude one organization intentionally. And the second reason why he felt so was because of the tone and the words used in the invitation. Forget being formal or subtle. The wording was more like a threat, as if they were summoning a criminal and had arranged a trial where the defender would have to prove their innocence. Khan came to the mansion at late night and showed the invitation via the content inside it to the old man. "We don't have to go, do we?" asked Albestros. "There's no rule that anyone opening a business has to join the Chamber of Commerce in that area. But even if we do not respond to their calling, I don't think that our situation will be any better. Rather, they will take it as an offense. It will only make things harder for us," spoke Khan Kami. "Besides, I want to know exactly why they are targeting us in the first place," he said. "But we will have to go there completely prepared," spoke Albestros. "Not we. Only me." Albestros looked at Khan with a startled expression. "What do you mean? The invitation clearly has my name on it," asked the old blacksmith. "I'll go as your representative, because I don't think they would be the most welcoming if you went there," replied Khan, and then started telling Albestros about the plan that just hatched in his mind. The next morning, Khan departed for the location where the meeting was arranged and the next discussions were to happen. At the farmost eastern end of the Rukon district was Area 51. It was one of the most prestigious sections of the district because there were hundreds of office buildings, each bigger and wider than the former. The majority being the kind where the councils, organizations, and committees related to various trades and public departments had their active headquarters. After using a flying ship to travel to this area in a short time, Khan finally stood at the main entrance of the Rukon Chamber of Commerce. The main entrance itself was 500 meters wide, and there were over 1,000 people just entering and exiting the premises. The main structure was divided into 5 sections, and each section was a 5-stories building that spanned 2 to 3 kilometers by itself. The total length of the main site was close to 19 kilometers, and there was a tight security on the only entrance. When Khan entered one of the mansion-like places that specialized in handling the affairs related to arms va craftsmanship commerce, he entered the grand building that could easily house over 5,000 people at once given the space va number of floors this place had. And this was just one of the sections. There were 4 more of such buildings spread around over 19-kilometer radius. He then showed the invitation he received to one of the receptionists, and they treated it as something of an utmost importance. There was a black-skinned man, dressed in rich formal clothes with a sharp haircut, who signaled Khan to follow him. Even the receptionist here wore costly uniforms that looked no different than what would the main attendee of some royal clan would wear. When they finally reached the topmost floor of this building, where very few people had occupied this place compared to the previous floors, as he noticed from the magic elevator that they used. This floor was extremely well designed, and even the normal furniture made for guests who were waiting had caught his eye. So this is where the elites conduct business, he thought. At the end of the floor, they finally reached a heavily guarded vicinity where nearly 300 trained and armored guards were stationed at the number of doors va entry points. Swish! Suddenly, 2 black shadows moved from Khan's body and got mixed with 2 of the peak master rank guards wielding spears. Knock! Knock! The receptionist knocked on a big and intrinsically carved golden door. A small section of the door was slid open, and a guard checked the new arrivals through this rectangular opening. The 5-meter-tall door was finally opened, and Khan saw the grandiose ambience of this 30-meter-long hall. Over 5 soldiers guarding and against the walls of each side. In the middle of this meeting room was a grand round table where 12 people sat around it on Victorian-era style chairs, discussing business reports and legislations amongst themselves. The receptionist who escorted Khan till this point walked close to the table and showed Khan's invitation to the men and women varying from humans, demi-humans, snakekins, boaters, and thralls. After that, a white snakekin dressed in regal and businessman attire spoke as he looked at Khan with a gaze full of contempt. "Are you the one called Albestros Winston?" asked the white snakekin in an authoritative tone. Khan slightly bowed as a form of showing respect to these people and replied, "No, sir. My name is Khan, the head of logistics va management in the Bloodborne Enterprise. Sir Winston is extremely busy crafting one of the orders he received which requires his utmost attention. And thus, I have been sent here to respond to the summon from the Chamber of Commerce." Bang! The snakekin banged his fist on the table, while the other seated members also gave an infuriated look towards Khan. What's the meaning of this? Is your company Va that blacksmith looking down on us? Do you not know who we are? Shouted the snakekin in rage. Humph! That welder must think that his craft is of the most importance and we're nothing but street vendors. Am I right? Spoke a blue thrall who was seated around the table. No, sir. We mean no disrespect to the committee. And I have been given the permission Va authority to discuss and make important decisions by Sir Winston. Spoke Khan, his tone being full of fear as he didn't dare to look up to these people in the eye. A young brat like you representing an entire company Va being the head of logistics? Do you think we're some fools, boy? Spoke a female foxkin dressed in lavish blue clothes, her pretty appearance and gentle tone having a calming effect to it. But the intent behind the words seemed unwelcoming. Are you in full authority to make documented deals and contracts? A 3-meter-tall brown lionkin asked Khan. Yes, sir. I am. Me being present here is no different than Sir Winston himself coming here, replied Khan. The lionkin glanced at the snakekin seated on the main chair around the table and made a nodding gesture. If that's the case, then do you understand why we have called upon you here? Asked the white snakekin with a condescending tone. I have a rough idea, sir. Spoke Khan in a jittery tone like someone who was scared of the people sitting here. Take a seat before we discuss official business. Spoke the snakekin who seemed like the leader of this council. Khan politely followed the instructions and sat on a vacant chair. Plenty of gazes were now treating him as the center of attention. Since you seem to have learned your lesson already, I don't feel the need to beat around the bush anymore. Spoke the snakekin in a domineering tone as if he was looking at a street dog. He continued his coy tone and declared, So, let us discuss your penalty. The meeting hall now suddenly had a pin-drop silence as soon as the president made the declarations. All the rich business tycoons who sat around the round table had their eyes glued to Khan, trying to see his expression. Young man, does your so-called grandmaster blacksmith of an owner understand how greatly your dirty-handed trick of selling the products at half the market price affected many other business enterprises and prices in the market altogether? How adversely it affects the economy and profits all these organizations make? Spoke the president as he waved his hand towards all the people sitting around the round table of tycoons. Yes, sir, and we wish to make amends. If there is a form of reconciliation we can do, we will pay for it. Spoke Khan in a polite tone, acting like a submissive person who didn't dare to raise his voice in front of these powerful people. Normally it doesn't cost much, but in your case, you shall become a bona fide member of the Chamber of Commerce. Plus from now on you will follow the rules set by the organization. And to reimburse Va compensate for the nonsense your company pulled off. Stopped the snakekin in his words and gave a sinisterish smirk as he continued. You shall pay 50 million gold coins as a penalty, declared the president and demanded this unreasonable price just in the name of compensation. Khan's eyes were filled with shock. He was certain that the losses these people actually suffered collectively weren't even close to 10 million gold coins. This wasn't a penalty, but daylight extortion. But the next second, unexpected to all the grinning faces of the members who were seated, they were simply left shocked by Khan's response as he spoke loudly. I accept. Gasp. Many of the members gasped in surprise as soon as Khan quickly replied and agreed to pay up this exorbitant price. Is this human an idiot? Or is he too scared? Thought a Mithran's businesswoman, because by no means this was a small amount. For the majority of them, it was half of their entire company's monthly earnings. They got through a lot of hard work. But Khan, who was only a representative of an enterprise that just started out, quickly agreed to pay up this large sum as if it was a chummy change for him. Mr. President, may I ask what is your name? Asked Khan politely, completely unfazed by their daylight robbery. Houdini. Houdini Warsmike, replied the old snakekin who was still taken aback by Khan's quick response. Does that blacksmith have a huge background or something? He thought. Are there any other terms Va conditions for us to get the membership? asked Khan as he emphasized on the last part. Houdini, on the other hand, was baffled. He hoped for a refusal and then use it against the Bloodborne Company. But this unexpected answer left him speechless for a few seconds. Yes. There are still some of the rules you will have to follow, said the president of the Arms Va Craftsmanship Department. First one. You will have to pay 1 million gold coins for a monthly membership of the union. Second, you will have to offer a 20% cut of the monthly earnings for management costs and development. Third, you will have to raise the prices of all your products to market prices dictated by the Chamber of Commerce. Fourth, you cannot sell any product based on your own price ranges as they affect other businesses. Fifth, you will only buy raw materials from the suppliers we decide upon. Sixth, if your enterprise decides to launch a new product in the market, you will have to get an approval from this committee first, and only then you can sell it in your stores. And the last, you will have to offer 30% of your shops to the Chamber of Commerce as a form of showing goodwill, said Houdini as he listed out all these unreasonable rules and regulations one by one. Even all the other members who heard these rules were flabbergasted as they looked at their president with eyes full of disbelief. Were these the same rules they followed? Because these terms va conditions seemed beyond incorrigible. Khan, on the other hand, didn't even show a slight hint of surprise or irritation on his face. These weren't some terms of membership. They were the terms akin to slavery. You couldn't do anything without their approval, had to pay an unreasonably high price for membership, then give your monthly profits to these folks, and even buy the raw materials from the dealers they were allowed to purchase from. Which definitely won't be a reasonable deal either. And most obtuse of them all was that he had to give up 30% of the shops his company owned. Are these the same rules and restrictions the other members sitting here have to follow? Asked Khan in a frightened voice. No, but your company has to pay in a way for offending all of us who have been in this field for decades. Do you think anyone can just come from nowhere and pull the carpet under our feet? Spoke the president, no longer hiding his malicious intentions. There's always a price to pay for messing with the people you shouldn't have provoked. So tell me, do you agree? Asked Houdini in his cunning voice. He was thoroughly cornering Khan and openly oppressing him under the name of these laws and regulations. The very next second, however, Khan's scared countenance disappeared and he spoke with a smile on his face. Go yourself. I see you agree. Suddenly, Houdini's mind was struck with a realization. What the hell did you say, you damn brat? He shouted in an enraged voice. Boom! Suddenly, all the guards, which also included 2 intermediate Grandmaster rank fighters, released their murderous aura. All of their killing intent was targeted at Khan as they started surrounding him from all 4 sides. Should we imprison him, sir? Asked the intermediate Grandmaster assassin to the Snakekin. No. I want to see him tortured in front of me first, and then cut off his arms and legs. I want him to suffer for the rest of his life, shouted Houdini, his eyes full of wrath as he stared at Khan. You see this, you trash? This is what you call true power. 1 word from me and you will lose your life right this very moment, threatened the president. Khan was still sitting calmly in his chair, spoke in response. What power? I don't feel any threat to my life. Don't you see? You're surrounded by us, spoke the other intermediate Grandmaster guard who was a swordsman. In response, Khan only gave a light smirk. Boom! Boom! Bang! Bang! Arg! Help! We're under attack! Wails filled with agony and cries for help suddenly resounded as a fight broke out on this floor. But it didn't come from the meeting hall where Khan was, rather the passage whence he came from. This floor of the building had over 300 master rank fighters guarding it, but suddenly an insurmountable aura full of unimaginable wrath was released on these guards. One by one, hundreds of soldiers and their yelps filled the surroundings. The shrill cries for mercy and metals clanging against each other suddenly frightened every single person sitting in the room. Boom! Suddenly, the golden door from where Khan previously entered this room was busted open as a tall man dressed in white coat kicked it from the outside. This man's red eyes landed on the armored guards who were surrounding and pointing their weapons at Khan. Shrill! This mature-looking man with ashen hair and glowing red iris in his eyes suddenly released all of his silver aura filled with murderous intent at all the guards and the business tycoons sitting in this room. Thack, thack, tap, tap, one by one. All the people, including the snakekin, dropped on the ground under this pressure as their bodies gave in against this immensely oppressive aura. A peak Grandmaster rank warrior. This aura was comparable to a peak Grandmaster person. And to make it even worse, the man who just entered in the meeting hall wasn't the only one. A 4-meter-tall man clad in black body armor and with a black giant's sword in his hands followed the man. His red and domineering aura by no means any weaker than the former. Impossible! How are there 2 peak Grandmaster warriors here? And why didn't anyone alert us? Thought the female foxkin businesswoman. The man dressed in white had a katana in his hand which had blood dripping from its blade. Tap, tap. His heavy footsteps filled the room as this man walked towards the center. The figure was none other than Omega, who was currently using his bloodlust skill that can put every enemy within 300 meters radius in a frightened mental state. Stab. Omega stabbed the katana in the center of the round table and moved his gaze at everyone present in this room as if he wanted to kill these people on the spot. Khan finally stood up, stretched out. Va flexed his arms and legs as he regained his calm and domineering posture. His face turned full of confidence, Va authority, as he stood tall with his hands folded behind his back, standing in his usual dark-side pose. Man, acting like a meek coward is so not my style, spoke Khan as he looked at the people kneeling on the ground. Khan gave a light grin to Houdini as he spoke in his kingly and tyrannical voice. Now this is what you call true power. Khan now stood in front of all these people with a grand and imposing demeanor, his previous scared and frail-looking way of conducting himself nowhere to be seen. Instead, he suddenly transformed into an alpha who controlled the situation instead. See, this is why I said I don't feel a threat to my life. You posers never had anything under control to begin with, said Khan. The sudden appearance of Omega Vajugram was a backup plan in case things came to a physical confrontation. And since he couldn't afford to let them both suddenly jump out of his shadow in front of so many people, he left them outside in the shadows of the guards as he gave both of them the shadow walk skill. Although it was only suited for the assassin class, after unlocking the importation skill with the subordinates with 100% loyalty, he found that there were some skills he could still impart to the subordinates despite the class difference. Shadow Walk being one of them, as this was the exclusive merged skill he created using the Synthesis Divine ability. Now then, where were we?
Thetem và Côn đi tin.
And how our company caused you lot tremendous losses, right? Spoke Khan as he leisurely walked around the round table, his eyes remembering all the faces of the members of the main council and names that were written on the chairs of these individuals. At this moment, Omega and Jugram were only releasing 80% of their aura, lest the people here fainted on the spot, since nobody aside from the 2 intermediate grandmasters was strong enough to stay awake under the pressure of their aura at maximum capacity. Hey! Who's gonna compensate me now? Asked Khan and telepathically ordered the 2 subordinates to reduce their aura by half. All of them were top figures and one of the richest people in this district. The wealth they had made them leaders and the dominant figure in the eyes of the entire city. But suddenly, a no-name person like Khan had made them kneel on the floor by having 2 peak Grandmaster warriors under his command. Just as the members of the Chamber of Commerce finally felt half of it disappearing from their bodies. The brown lionkin spoke with an infuriated tone. What compensation? Do you even realize how grave a mistake you just made? To this retort, Khan replied nonchalantly. You lot have cost me too much money. The damages done at my stores. Then the emotional trauma my staff members suffered in the past few weeks, along with the sleepless nights I've gone through. That is simply unbearable. How about you guys loan me some money so I could afford to visit a therapist? Khan then grinned and he gave a covetous look towards all these people who acted all high and mighty not too long ago. What do you mean? Why should we give you money for any? Boom! Before Houdini could speak any more words, Omega Vajugram increased their aura and put everyone on the ground again. But this time, nobody even had the strength to even bat an eyelid. Omega then started pulling out all the space rings these 13 members had on them one by one. Each of these business tycoons had a vast amount of wealth and resources in their space rings. Every single member of the council had 3 to 4 space rings holding this wealth on their person. So Khan was going to take these rings for safeguarding them. Just in 5 minutes, Omega pulled out over 58 space rings, each full of vast wealth and resources they didn't even know of. And despite their souls nearly leaving their bodies in rage, none of these influential powers could do anything. Their main goal was to decimate the Bloodborne Company to the ground. But in just 10 minutes, the tables had turned on them. Thank you for your generous donations. I will forever remember your kindness in my heart, spoke Khan as Omega handed him all these space rings that had inner space comparable to a medium-sized warehouse. They didn't even have the time to check all the contents inside them.
Ladis và Genlem.
As much as I would like to stay and entertain you, I must depart with a heavy heart. But I hope you do remember our encounter today before you decide to do anything rash in the future, said Khan in a calm tone. You think you can leave this place alive after robbing us? Spoke the snakekin as he barely managed to form these words in his mouth. Oh, are you people so open-minded to tell the world about how someone came right into your house and robbed you as none of you dared to fight back? Or are you going to tell everyone about how you lot shamelessly tried to put a poor and weak company like ours out of business? Asked Khan in a sarcastic tone. You bastards have killed people. You're not getting away with it, said the blue elderly thrall. I don't remember killing anyone. I was only playing a poking game with your people outside. Just with swords, but very enjoyable, I tell you, said Omega as he let out a devilish smirk. Yes, me too. It was also good physical exercise by exchanging fists. My body was feeling very stiff from few days anyway, replied Jugram. Omega then pulled out Raijin that was stabbed in the middle of the round table. He squatted down in front of the 2 intermediate Grandmaster warriors, one of whom was a swordsman. Hey, cool sword man. Mind if I borrow it? Said Omega and looted the sword along with the scabbard. The swordsman was barely managing to breathe properly, so he had no chance to retort. Khan then spoke in his tyrannical voice as his gaze landed on all the rich tycoons who barely managed to hold their heads high after the subordinates decreased their aura. I hope the relationship between us stays on good terms from now on. And know this. This was your first and final warning. So let us go separate in our paths. You do things your way and we do it our way. Everyone stays happy. But remember one thing though. His expression then turned grim va deathly as if gave out his final declaration in a domineering tone. If you think you are bad, then I am your dad. Khan returned to his mansion at night and told everything that happened during the meeting to Albestros Varonin. While he had Sale listening through the long-distance transmission artifact, the jade medallion given by the vampire lord. Isn't that a bit extreme? This isn't what we discussed previously, said Albestros after Khan revealed his conduct in the meeting like a professional bandit. There is a reason why I did those things, he said. Khan pretended to be weak and docile in front of the committee, because as said in The Art of War, pretend to be weak, that your enemy may grow arrogant. He used that strategy to know their real intentions. After I went to the meeting and talked with them, I was even ready to reconcile and make amends. At the end of the day, we too want to survive and do our business peacefully. He spoke and took a pause, but as soon as I heard all the terms va conditions, it was as clear as sky to me that they weren't going to let us off. Rather, they wanted to bury us deep in the ground. We'd be no different than slaves who'd need their master's permission to even breathe. And right then, I knew the whole meeting itself was nothing but a sham to begin with. He explained. Khan was someone who had lived through that life of a corporate slave where you give it all to the company or organization you worked for, only for them to have you either work to the bone or throw you away when you outlived personal usefulness. As soon as there was a better option, they would cast you away even after hundreds of unpaid hours of work and sleepless nights you went through while only getting minimum wage. In his past life, even though he had a good salary job, he had no personal life. His entire life cycle circled around his work and affected him mentally and physically. But when he suffered through the scam which nearly broke him as a person, all he received was condescending and demeaning laughs and banters on himself. And this was one of the main reasons why Khan had decided that he would never work for someone or some company in this life. And thus, he entered the business field as soon as he saw the opportunity after he came to the capital. His years of experience as an accountant and the information he gathered on how to manage a business was more than enough for him to enter this profession. He wasn't one of those fake entrepreneurs on social media, but someone who knew the real ins and outs of this field. Before I entered the meeting hall, Mr. Omega Va Mr. Jugram were already using an artifact to hide their presence, and no one there was strong enough to sense them either. It was to let them think that these two were our biggest powerhouses," said Khan. He addressed the subordinates this way because their current persona was some top-rank fighters Khan had hired to work for their company. During the meeting itself, he didn't release his own aura of a semi-saint rank fighter because he had learned not to reveal his trump cards early on after the fight with Arkham Va Solomon. The last-minute power boost such as Berserk God Mode Va Bloodline Merge won't always save his life. And after their use, he'd be left defenseless if none of his subordinates were with him. Even a rookie soldier would be able to kill him during the weakened state. And hence, he didn't reveal his strength at all. By revealing Omega Va Jugram as peak Grandmaster rank warriors, he had warned them off that he wasn't without backing either. The reason why I didn't have them kill anyone was because there were too many witnesses to begin with. I was also seen entering that floor. And there were many innocents involved like the receptionist who escorted me or the normal guards who were just doing their job. Those had nothing to do with this whole ordeal. I don't kill innocent bystanders just because they are present at a wrong place at a wrong time. So only giving them superficial injuries and a few broken bones was a better alternative. Killing people publicly would only create unnecessary trouble for us, the kind we should avoid at any cost for now. And at the end of the day, it's only business, not worth killing someone over it," explained Khan. "But what if they retaliate try to kill you? After all, you outright robbed their belongings and took years of personal wealth at the end," spoke Sale through the medallion. "Hey! I'm not a psychopath who goes around killing people just over some small arguments and because I have some strength. You should learn how to handle things without spilling unnecessary blood. You are going to be the clan leader one day as well," reprimanded Khan with his tone full of wisdom. "But you did have Sir Omega Va Sir Jugram spill some blood though." A coy chuckle came from the other end. "This biatch," cursed Khan in his mind. "As long as no one is dead, it doesn't count," replied Khan, trying to cover up the small burn he just received. "As for why I robbed them off, it was to give them a lesson they will remember for a long time and rethink 100 times before messing with us again. Plus, I had to recover all my losses because of those bastards. And since they can't let the public know about how a no-name guy came with a couple of bodyguards and robbed them off right in the center of their turf, they will have to swallow it down till their final moments," spoke Khan as he leaned on the comfortable sofa. "Kid, you should know that none of these people reached the place they are without burying some bodies. What if they come back seeking vengeance and target us again?" asked Albestros in a worried tone. "I already gave them a final warning, that there won't be any mercy next time," replied Khan. "And how are things progressing on your end, Sale? Are you doing what I've told you as per our plans in the previous meeting?" asked Khan to the vampire heir. "It's progressing slowly, even with my position as the clan heir. It's not easy to convince my grandfather Va the elders. It's not just our clan but the entire faction. Other clans are also hard to please. I can't make big moves without drawing attention to myself," replied Sale. "What plans are you two talking about? Don't leave me out of the loop again," exclaimed the old man. He still remembered how these two planned their act of betrayal when they entered the headquarters of the Vanderite clan and how scared he was when they were put in jail. "Don't worry, you're not in any danger this time," spoke Khan calmly. "As for the upcoming days, we will have some peace." 2 weeks passed by and the Bloodborne Company was back on track, although a lot of damage was done to the reputation of the company. Khan then used the same method his enemies used to thwart away his rise in popularity. Khan paid tons of networking organizations and even made the dark alley deals with some organizations that worked in intel gathering. He used Sales Clan to make a direct deal with the underworld. And like there are no exceptions. This rich and prestigious clan from the Pureblood faction too had their feet set inside the underworld as well. The vampire clan Khan saved nearly a month ago was proving very useful to him day by day. Although he too was aware of how they had undisclosed motives behind all the help they were offering. He wasn't the kind to refuse free help when he was in need. In the first week alone, the common people hired by these agencies and underworld organizations spread around the word about how the greedy enterprises had paid and targeted the Bloodborne Company because they were selling the products at a reasonable price and not the exorbitant and unfair rates these rich folks wanted them to do. And the narrative of rich and powerful oppressing the weak and poor guy always worked like a charm on the common citizens of the society. And to top it all, the Bloodborne Company even offered a 10% discount for the next few weeks because they were forced to make this decision as the business was in decline. With this story spread amongst the masses, those who felt empathetic towards the starting company who was fair and just and originated from a poor background because of a hard-working and talented Grandmaster blacksmith. And those who wanted to take advantage of these low costs flooded their stores. Even the dealers and distributors had their shops swarmed with people asking for their products. This seemed like the Bloodborne Company won't survive for long if the profits went downhill on the surface. But in reality, Khan had no worries because his real aim was to regain the reputation of the company that was tainted because of the ploy of their enemies. Although the company itself was suffering many losses at this time and the profits they were making barely covered the marginal cost. The funding required to keep the company afloat for the next few months was already in his pockets. And all that because of the generous donations given by all the top business figures Khan met in the Chamber of Commerce that day. Each of the rings had inner space big enough to function like a medium-sized warehouse. And the amount of wealth every single one of them held. Khan barely managed to sleep that night after he, Albestro's Ronin Omega Vajugram counted all the money and resources they received from the decades of all the hard work of these business tycoons. These people wanted to oppress him, but he robbed them instead. And now, the total amount of wealth and resources Khan gained from the 58 space rings that he took for safeguarding from the real owners was beyond his wildest dreams. To Khan, who had amassed his wealth before he came to the capital by the good old method of righteous and honorable means called plundering the dead. The living beings offered him more money and that too without the bloodshed. He also found the orichalcum plates that were used as denominations for 1 million gold coins. He now had 63 of these plates along with the normal gold coins. Khan was now the owner of 156 million gold coins, 80,000 A rank monster cores and mana ores, 500,000 B rank cores, and to his surprise and for the first time, he nearly had 3,000 S rank cores. This sudden uprise in resources and materials made him realize that he wasn't living inside a small pond like before, but truly in the vast open ocean. He barely resisted the urge to visit these people again and rob their fortune. This was just the personal wealth of all those 13 tycoons, who knew about their enterprise's real income. And if this was the income of people sitting in top positions of just one section of the Chamber of Commerce, what about the other 4? And at the end, these people were the top brass of just one district. The capital Rathna had 86 other districts. What about their wealth? The greedy accountant inside Khan was having an orgasm just with the thought of it. The amount of epic rank weapons, potions, magic scrolls, armors and full sets he now had exceeded in hundreds, compared to the current him. The Khan who felt like a big shot in terms of wealth when coming to Rathna was not even worth looking at. And with this money, what Khan planned to do would make those people who messed with him punch themselves in the face. If not for them acting all high and mighty, he wouldn't hold this vast amount of wealth in the first place. The president wanted Khan to pay 50 million gold coins as a penalty for incurring their wrath. But now his own wealth was 3 times bigger than what they wanted him to fork out. The first thing he did was to hire 3,000 more employees, hundreds of magic carriages for transportation, over 20 new security guards for every single shop, so no one would dare to cause any more trouble. And by spending another 25 million gold coins, he leased 23 more buildings to open their stores, made deals with even bigger suppliers, and the top figures he befriended in the past 2 weeks in the name of business were none other than the powerful clans from the Pureblood faction. The Bloodborne company was now twice bigger, efficient, and capable in just 2 weeks. Rather than letting all that money rot in his space rings, he was going to use it to keep making more money in the future. What he wanted to do was use this opportunity to open a few more branches in other districts, but the company was still in the name of the old blacksmith. Any bold moves and people will start asking questions about the origin of the funding. So Khan decided to take baby steps first. Khan now stood in a forested area with Omega and all the members of the 6 generals such as Ronan, Oliver, Jugram, Cyril, Blackwell, and Armin. They all looked at the cores and ores Khan took out from his space rings. Dozens of rings to be precise. The glittering red cores and multicolored ores in the middle shone brightly under the moonlight as they were placed on multiple tables, and these hungry wolves were rubbing their hands together like flies. He spoke in an excited tone as he and all the main subordinates were drooling after looking at the stash. Buckle up, boys. Time to level up. After having their fill of some top-grade cores and ores like children eating ice cream, the entourage of oddities hid in Khan's shadow again. On this very night, Cyril also crossed the threshold and unlocked the condition to take a human form. But Khan decided to temporarily hide Cyril from anyone's eyes because another peak Grandmaster rank person would certainly raise suspicion on him. Forget the others. Even Albestro's Vassail will feel like there was something odd. So Khan decided to temporarily keep the necromancer subordinate away from the public eye. Now, only Oliver Va Blackwell were left at Lord rank, even though both of them crossed the level 85. Only by reaching High Lord rank would they meet the prerequisite conditions. And for that, Khan would at least need a peak Grandmaster rank tank or a paladin and an archer to upgrade these subordinates. So he currently had to put them on hold. All of his subordinates would also need some time to completely absorb all the S-rank Va or rank cores Va ores they just ate. Because unlike Khan, they didn't have the ability absorption divine ability. So he was only left with Omega, Ronan, Jugram, and Armin, who were already in their human forms. During the level up, he noticed that even the S-rank cores were hardly enough. He ate around 80 of these cores but only increased by 12 levels. And with each level up, the number of cores he required also rose. System. Why is it taking so many cores to level up? Asked Khan. The host is now a semi-saint rank being. As the host's body crosses a threshold or a realm of physique, the number of resources for each level up will also increase. Explained the system. Khan then understood how hard it was going to be for him to reach higher levels and ranks, because a single S-rank core was comparable to 1,000 A-rank cores. And despite eating 80 of these cores that were bigger and glowed fiery red, he still only made 12 level increase. Exactly when he thought that he had gathered enough resources to raise to level 200. He was left speechless by this sudden revelation. Only now did he clearly have an idea about why there were barely 200 semi-saint rank fighters in the entire empire, and even less than 100 saint rank fighters within the population of 4 billion citizens as per the records. Even someone like Solomon, who was more than 200 years old, wasn't able to reach the saint rank, because of the number of resources they required and the time it took to consume these cores and ores was not even an option for 99.99% of the population. And if this was just for the semi-saint rank, what about the number of cores and ores he'd require after reaching the saint rank? Even a million S-rank cores would barely be enough for him to cross a single stage. Even the dozen business tycoons he robbed barely had 5,000 of these cores. And if this was so hard for them to gather these cores, how hard would it be for him? Khan wasn't a prince of some kingdom or like other heroes who had the backing of an entire empire. So he had to look for even higher grade resources and materials to level up from now on. Because even the ability absorption divine ability could only help him with absorbing these cores Va ores at an extremely fast pace. But it couldn't help with the number of resources he needed. So for now, he could continue eating these cores on daily basis and rise in levels steadily. Asking for more would be like having everything handed to him by the gods. Khan then returned to the mansion and prepared for the next day. So far, things have been going well for him and nothing out of the norm had happened, so he was only overflowed with the work related to business and had no worries about anything else. As the working days started on the next week, Khan, who now had twice the workload on him despite hiring triple the number of employees for logistics VA management using the Bloodbind contract. This time as well, there were thousands of people applying during the recruitment and most of them ran away in the final stage as soon as he revealed this method of finalizing their contract. This was indeed a very effective method to throw off the leechers and spies. The current member of the logistics department alone reached close to 1,000 and the main workers and apprenticeship blacksmiths also tripled in numbers as their fame kept rising over time. Albestros also held the other end of the side, and the once beggar-like appearance Grandmaster had a complete makeover and looked more refined and noble. His grizzly beard was gone and his face no longer had dry wrinkles on them. To him, it was like the old days during his peak of popularity had returned and the old blacksmith was thoroughly enjoying his craft again. Author, reference art for Albestros Winston, the Grandmaster Blacksmith in the chapter comments. Check it out. And with each new and challenging craftsmanship order from highly influential people they were receiving, the fire inside him also burned bright. Khan, on the other hand, was using the old man's rising reputation to make high-end deals with top figures and organizations. As usual, Khan was immersed in his duties and checking the reports he was receiving from his office underlings. The Bloodborne Company was completely settled in this 1-month period ever since they started, and they had prospects for expansions in upcoming months to other districts if things went well. Thud! Bang! A loud bang was heard on his office door, and the next second, a giant figure kicked and broke the door. As soon as Khan saw who it was, his face turned grim, not because of the impolite intrusion or the person who did it, but because of who this person was holding. "Put him on the sofa!" shouted Khan as he quickly stood up and summoned Armin out of his shadow. "Heal him quickly," he ordered Armin. The person who barged inside Khan's office was none other than Jugram, but in his hand was a half-burned elven man. Khan knew this middle-aged elf personally. He was one of the main caretakers of a warehouse they had in the central region of the district. "Khandar, what happened?" asked Khan to the elf. Armin quickly cast Restoration Va Elixir of Life, his 2 instant healing Va regeneration skills that were no different than lifesaver skills. Jugram suddenly spoke to Khan. "He barely managed to reach our main gates in this state." "Ah! I?" A groaning was heard in the room as the nearly dying elf was healed and was making visible recovery thanks to Armin. "Xander, you're okay. Tell me what happened. Why were you in this condition?" asked Khan with a curious tone. The next second, Xander, entire body shuddered in fear as realization hit him. He then spoke in a frightened tone. "Mr. Khan, they killed them all in the central region of the Rukon district." A big go-down was engulfed in fire and smoke. This 1-kilometer-wide storage facility was burned to crisps and thousands of onlookers were discussing the sudden fire that broke in this facility. Over 20 mages who were part of the fire control department of this region named Area 69 were putting off the fire with their various magic artifacts, water Va frost spells. There were hundreds of foot soldiers surrounding the burning building and prohibiting people from coming close to it. There was a separate group of people who were using different types of formations, barriers and scrolls to stop the spreading fire lest it affects the other surrounding buildings and housings. A proper way to control a fire breakout. Flap, flap. A sound of multiple flapping wings filled the area and suddenly, 3 flying winged lion beasts that were used as modes of traveling in the capital by the truly wealthy came in sight. Thud, thud, thud. The 5-meter-tall and majestic lions with silver feathery wings landed on the ground. Soon, 3 figures climbed down from these regal creatures. It was Khan, Omega, and Armin who were using these highly sought-after monster steeds to travel. These were the monsters Khan bought last week because he had to travel long distances often and magic trains were no longer convenient for him at this point. Plus, he had the money so he didn't think twice before he bought these beasts, 1,000,000 gold coins for each of them. The trio soon stood in front of the smoldering fire and introduced themselves as the owners of this burning building. After an hour of joint effort, the fire was finally subdued and the building was safe enough to enter. After doing the paperwork and counting the number of the dead, it was registered as an accident by the authorities and a case was filed. Khan filled in all the required information via documents for further investigation. But during his own visit inside the site, his hunter's intent was working at full capacity, his eyes registering minute details one wouldn't generally notice. After his investigation, Khan concluded that although the bodies burned under this fire, in reality, the 42 people who died in this tragic incident were actually murdered. The swift swings and thrusts that cut the necks and broke the skulls were not easy to notice after how only a few of their bones remained. The rest of the facility was burned to ashes and all the stockpile of material this warehouse had was completely ransacked. Whoever did this were all trained killers. Khan concluded that these killers first took down all the security VA workers here, and then they ransacked the entire godown full of finished products that would soon be sold in shops. This facility was used to store them here and then distribute the stock in the nearby shops owned by Khan's company. To save time and money, of course. And after killing these innocent workers, they put the entire place on fire. "This is because of me," said Khan as he tightly clenched his fist. At the end of the day, every single one of the victims was just collateral damage. Khan understood that he was the main cause of these innocent workers getting killed only because he had garnered the ire of the truly powerful people. And since they couldn't even hope to put a scratch on him because of Omega Va Jugram, they went after the people who worked for him. Xander told Khan that he survived because of a protection artifact he had on him which saved his life in the last moment from a fireball spell that was used in order to kill him. Xander barely escaped from the clutches of these killers via using a teleportation scroll and appeared close to their main headquarters. He was now the only survivor of this massacre and was currently taken care of by Armin. After dealing with the aftermath and agreeing to comply with the investigations, Khan returned at evening to the main headquarters. This time, he quickly made an announcement in the main meeting hall about the incident and how the families of the deceased workers will be fairly compensated for the loss of their loved ones. The main purpose of this meeting wasn't only to show that how they cared about the lives of their employees, but also for Khan to plant over 60 of his assassin subordinates in the shadows of some of the employees. Khan knew that this won't be the final attack, because this was again targeted killing, and he already had a hint of who were the real culprits behind these attacks. Khan was barely holding back his anger and wanted to hunt down these killers, but the fire didn't leave any traces behind. No smell or footsteps that he could use to track these killers. But at the same time, he couldn't even reveal the truth behind that fire and how basically everyone's life was in grave danger. Otherwise, it will cause a panic he won't be able to catch the killers either. So only hiding his assassin subordinates to protect these people and getting informed in case any of them were under an attack was the best choice for him to find the killers. On the same night, 3 of his shops were burned to the ground and 12 guards on night duty also died. His subordinates hidden between the normal guards couldn't even inform Khan through hive mind because all these shops were placed farther than 10 kilometers. Amongst the dead, 8 of his master rank warriors also died. The next day, for more of his transportation's carriages were attacked and looted, since Omega was guarding other shipments and couldn't always be present everywhere. The guards protecting these shipments barely managed to keep their lives in a clash. From the survivors, he learned that it was a group of killers which had a well-organized style of attacking the targets like a trained battalion itself. Some survivors even said that the attackers let them live on purpose. After the same incident happened the next day, Khan finally lost it. For the first time in his new life, he truly felt helpless. It was one thing if the enemies came after him. He could still fight and protect himself, but nearly 4,000 people who worked for were left defenseless and prone to get attacked when Khan wasn't present. Even the subordinates he had were limited and all the security he hired were at best at peak master rank. But in front the grandmaster rank attackers, there was so little they could Khan didn't want to gather unnecessary attention on himself in this new place. But the innocent people who worked for him were being killed by these enemies he made. He had shown his enemies the kindness of giving a warning because he didn't want to kill innocents who didn't know anything about the enmity. Just that this time they weren't using normal people to defame his company, but hired professionals to kill his people. This is all on me. I made the mistake of sparing those bastards that day. My people are also my responsibility, spoke Khan as he saw half a dozen dead bodies being carried away from the most recent attack on a shipment carriage of his company. At that very moment, Khan decided that it was finally time to take matters into his own hands. The official investigation will never yield a proper result, or the killers will even be found. At night, he stood in his bedroom in front of the dressing table as he looked in the mirror. His eyes were full of wrath, and his body barely contained his murderous and chaotic aura as he spoke in a vengeful tone. You bastards wanted a war. You've got one now. What Khan felt right at this moment was something he hadn't felt before. Although he wanted nothing else but to rip out the hearts of the hired professionals who were killing his employees as a way for the people from the Chamber of Commerce to get back at him. There were still many things Khan had doubts about. What he didn't understand was how did the people who couldn't even handle Omega Va Jugram's pressure properly suddenly grew up a spine and dared to outright kill his people. Because even if they let impulses Va anger affect their decision, it was already clear that none of them actually had the capabilities to kill Khan if they couldn't even defeat his bodyguards. And it was obvious that Khan would come for their heads after that final warning. And yet, things had come to the current circumstances, as if these people no longer had a fear for their lives. Khan quickly slapped himself to control his angered state. Think clearly. This isn't simple like it seems. He spoke to himself and adjusted his breathing. As the calm breathing exercise started showing its effect and he regained his composure and focused mind, he started to look for proper reasoning. A provocation like this is only good in two scenarios. And one, you are far stronger than your opponent and can control everything if it comes to a life-and-death situation. 2. When you want to lure out the enraged enemy right into your trap, said Khan. He wasn't going to do the mistake of walking into a trap ever again after his experience with Arkham Va Solomon. He won't always come out alive from it because of some plot armor or a coincidence. Even the power boost skills he had were the last resort when he was completely cornered and had no other choice. So there was a need of examining the situation first. And there was another problem. He couldn't afford to reveal his identity as a semi-saint rank fighter either. Otherwise, it will come to bite him back later. Plus, there was also the matter of security of the company Va Albestros. Someone of his strength would eventually end up catching the eye of top guys. And hence it wasn't a good choice to reveal his true strength either. But there was still a way for him to interfere without implicating his real identity. It was the same method he used in Flavit City. And that was to create another persona. Since Azrael was out of the equation as he didn't want to gather too much attention on himself or let people from Flavit City know that Azrael appeared in the same district of the capital where Khan also lived now. He had to use a different persona and a different method to hunt down his enemies. Khan took out a body from one of his space rings and placed his hand on it. This body belonged to none other than Bartholomew Volstov, father of Aaron Volstov. The father-son duo tried to use Azrael's name to plot and kill their own clan's head, although they did succeed. Khan was the one who benefited from it the most. So far, he didn't even have a reason or time to pay attention to this intermediate Grandmaster rank archer. But he hadn't completely forgotten about him either, although he could mix it with Oliver. But the fact that Bartholomew wasn't a peak Grandmaster fighter wouldn't give any favorable results at all. And because of that, Khan was waiting for a proper time to use this body, and after nearly 2 months, the opportunity finally appeared. Absorb! Commanded Khan and used the ability Absorption Divine Ability. System, show me the abilities and skills. Following are the physical abilities Va skills. Hawkeye, A rank, passive. Gives the host a precise view and vital organs of an enemy target. Death from the Shadow, A rank, active. allows the host to completely submerge into dark shadows while masking his presence before making an offensive attack. Following are the magical abilities Va skills. Death Volley, S rank, active. Allows the host to create a volley of 100 arrows using his mana as a source and attack multiple targets in 500-meter radius. Note: the host can infuse different elements of magical attributes on the mana arrows while using this skill. Archer's Lance, B rank, active. Allows the host to gather condensed mana on an arrow to increase the damage by 200%. Note: the host can also infuse any elemental attribute in this skill. Full Draw, S rank, active. Allows the host to simultaneously use multiple arrows, 3 at maximum per shot, with 300% attack damage and effective range. There are no currently merged skills available. The previous archery skills the host acquired are low tier and unsuitable for synthesis procedure. Hawkeye skill has been merged under Hunter's Intent. The rank of this ability is raised to SS rank. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to Grandmaster rank for archery skills and abilities. Replied the system. Good enough for now, spoke Khan as he looked at the mirror. I can't reveal my own identity. But I can't hide behind a mask this time either. I need to make a statement, he said with fervor in his tone. System, can I change my age using the metamorphosis ability? Asked Khan. He could always take the form of another species, but when it came to archery, he found his human form the most suitable. Yes. How old would the host like to appear? I always wondered how I would look 20 years later in my past life. Let's make it 45. Spoke Khan. The next second, his appearance started changing. His young and handsome appearance started aging at a visible rate. Multiple wrinkles and a beard slowly grew on his face. A strand of white patch appeared on his long yet well-fashioned beard and now shoulder-length hair on both sides. In just a minute, his appearance turned from a vigorous young man to a stoic and matured seasoned warrior. Although his body was a bit thin compared to before, the aura he gave from the new appearance was worlds apart. His eyes looked full of wisdom and experience along with the kingly aura that made him look like someone who spent decades fighting wars. Khan quickly took out an epic rank gear set for archers and a bow made up of rare alloys. After the new abilities he gained and breaking through to the Grandmaster rank for archery skills, his innate connection to this weapon increased drastically. Author. Reference art for older Khan given in chapter comments. Check it out. But before he could admire his new appearance, he heard a warning signal from one of his assassin subordinates he left in one of the employees. His countenance turned serious as he spoke. Pray to your God, for this is your last day. Well, it's not like he's listening anyway. In a dark alley amongst hundreds of brightened streets in the Rukhan district, a violet male and a red demonkin female ran across the dark corners. In the male's hands was a black demonkin child, barely 6 years old. Huff! Huff! The couple stopped in one of the dark corners as they gasped for breath. The father was panting heavily. Papa, are the bad people gone? Asked the child to his father. Shoo! Don't talk, whispered the father. The mother was already out of her wits and couldn't understand what was happening. Not too long ago, they were merrily shopping and had a nice dinner after her husband received his paycheck for this month. But as they were finally departing for their home, a bunch of people started following them out of nowhere. These people had masks on them, and she even saw daggers and swords with them. First, they thought that these people were some thugs who robbed people, but it became very clear that it's their lives these masked people were after. Their son was very scared. The father even offered their money and asked to let them go. But the murderous aura from these people didn't even wane. And after that, they started running for their lives and entered this dark alley in order to hide. Tap, tap. Oh my! You think you've escaped us already? A grim voice came from above their heads, and a blue tigerkin assassin donned in pitch-black clothes appeared in their sight. Swoosh! Swoosh! One by one, over a dozen people started appearing out of nowhere and encircled this family. their sadistic tone full of scorn, as if they were looking at a weak prey that wasn't even worth killing. Orochi, don't waste time. We have more people to kill tonight, spoke a wolfkin archer who stood on top of a building, keeping a lookout so nobody sees what was happening here. Yes, yes. But what about the kid? Asked the tigerkin. No witnesses. That's the rule, spoke the archer. No. Please. Let us go. I will give all the money I have on me. Just don't hurt my family, pleaded the father as he stood in the front and hid his wife son behind him. Sorry, my friend. The business policy must be followed, spoke the tigerkin as he brandished 2 green daggers and released his aura of a peak master rank fighter. The wife and the child were rooted on the spot and couldn't even move a muscle. The father barely moved with every inch of his being and stood in front of them bravely. What have we done to you? I have never offended anyone, spoke the demonkin. Not you, but the people you work for did, replied the assassin, and his image flickered. Stab. A neck was pierced by a sharp dagger. Gasp. Gasp. Multiple gasps were heard, originating from these killers. Because the person who got their neck stabbed by a dagger wasn't the demonkin, but Orochi, their own ally. The next moment, a dark figure covered in black smoke was revealed from behind this tigerkin assassin. What the hell? Who are you? Shouted a swordsman. But instead of replying, this figure jumped in between the family and these killers and took a defensive stance with its daggers. At this exact instant, a figure dressed in black hunting gear was leaping from buildings to buildings a few kilometers away, heading straight towards the direction of the demonkin family. Just one more minute, spoke the figure. However, inside the alley, the killers started attacking the family from various ends, and the figure protecting them was barely able to hold his end. This new figure, who appeared in the last moment out of nowhere and killed the tigerkin with the element of surprise, was a peak master rank assassin. But in front of these fighters, 2 of whom were beginner grandmasters, there was so much he could do. Looks like we have a rat here, spoke the archer as he shot another arrow and pierced right in the black assassin's shoulder. Stab. A snakeskin assassin who was a beginner grandmaster stabbed the defender in the back before the former could even make a move. Let's finish them off and get out of here quickly. We've been compromised, spoke the wolfkin archer. Just their ally suddenly getting killed was already a big blow for them. Stab. Peace. Swish. But before they could even make a move on the demonkin family, a volley of arrows descended upon them out of nowhere. In just 2 seconds, half of their people were killed before anyone could even react or register what happened. Boom! A deathly aura suddenly filled this dark alley as a man clad in black light armor and a black epic rank bow appeared above their heads and stood on the tallest building. A dark alley. A kid watching his parents getting killed. Sounds familiar. A grim voice filled the surroundings and a heavy aura on the remaining killers before they could even retaliate. Well, not on my watch, said the mature human who was now aiming at the remaining assailants. This was Khan in his new old age appearance. There was no hood on his head, and his face was very clear to see as well. He was using only 30% of his aura at this moment, but for the assailants who were encircling the family, it was enough to gauge that this new enemy was stronger than all of them. Let these people go. You don't want to do it the hard way, spoke Khan. His voice resembled that of a father figure person who was advising the young to not make a certain type of mistake. You! Who the hell are you? And do you think that you can kill all of us just because you're strong? The last attack was unexpected. But now you're good as dead, shouted the archer wolfkin. Khan, on the other hand, looked at the fallen assassin's subordinate who was having his last moments after getting stabbed through the heart. He did everything he could to stall for time and protect this demonkin family as per his master's orders. It was him who warned Khan about the employee of his company being targeted after Khan left some of his assassins in their shadows. He was just one of those subordinates. Khan gave an understanding gaze to this assassin, and the next second, a green halo appeared over this dying subordinate. Before anyone could even sense, Armin had already appeared beside this subordinate and cast Elixir of Life skill on him. saving this subordinate's life. Khan then looked at the remaining assailants, his tone full of hatred as he spoke loudly. "You'll get what you deserve." After his declaration, Khan jumped down from the top of the building and right next to the Demonkin family. "You're all safe. You can go now," said Khan and released War Dominance aura at full capacity. Other than the family members, all the assailants were frozen under this sheer pressure. The employee's family ran away quickly without waiting to know why they were put in a near-death situation just a few minutes ago. Khan knocked an arrow on the bowstring, leisurely walked in front of this group and shot 5 of these hired killers in the head at point-blank range. He didn't have to use any of the skills to kill these murderers who could only toy va kill the weak. Just his aura alone was more than enough to restrict all of their movements. He then turned to the Wolfkin archer, the last remaining member of their squad. "I'm gonna give you 2 choices. 1, willingly tell everything I want to know and I'll let you go. 2, resist or try to pull a stunt. Your death won't be as swift and painless as them," said Khan as he lowered the intensity of his aura so the archer could at least speak. "Tell me who hired you? You bastard. I'm not telling you shit," shouted the Wolfkin. But instead of getting angered by the disrespectful tone, Khan gave a slight smirk instead. "I was hoping you'd say that." Then next second, 4 black grappling extensions came from his back and tied up the Wolfkin's body. Khan then took out a dagger placed in the holster he wore and his hand reached towards the ear of this Wolfkin. "No, not the ear. Arg!" Before the archer could plead, Khan cut off one of his ears. To the Wolfkin species, their ears and their snout were of the utmost importance, which signified their species characteristics. The screams and wails of this Wolfkin echoed in the dark alley, but there was no one to hear his wails. "Now, let's move to the other one," said Khan with a gentle expression on his face, as if cutting off someone's precious body part didn't bother him at all. "No, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Just don't kill me," agreed and pleaded the archer. His smug and carefree expression from before was nowhere to be seen. "You have my word. I won't kill you," declared Khan with a righteous expression on his face. The archer then revealed how the order came from their superiors and how they were only following the commands. He also told Khan that at midnight, even more of their fighters and trained assassins were going to depart and kill over 50 of Bloodborne Company's employees and burn a few warehouses and shops. And the main records of the clients who hired their organization were kept in their main headquarters. And how it was a very secured space and no one without the password or who hadn't been seen by the security before was allowed to enter. After hearing about the details on the location what kind of traps were set there to catch the intruders, Khan finally felt satisfied. He let go of the Wolfkin and released him from his extensions. "I see. I guess then I have no other choice," spoke Khan. Stab. Suddenly, the Wolfkin's heart was stabbed from behind. You said you won't kill me," spoke the archer, his eyes full of shock and disbelief. "Yes, but I'm not the one who killed you," said Khan nonchalantly and gestured at the one stabbing the archer from behind. It was none other than the assassin subordinate of Khan who was put near to death by these killers not too long ago. Khan then absorbed the abilities skills of this archer. He didn't need the skills but the perfect bloodline sample. After wearing this dead Wolfkin's clothes and gear as he himself transformed into the identical copy of this archer, Khan knew that he only had 2 hours now before the other killers from this assassin organization were deployed to kill his people and destroy his property. Currently, every one of his allies except for Armin were busy protecting a part of his company, such as the main building, Albestros, their warehouses and stores. All of them were commanding and maintaining the security of a particular sector. He couldn't take out Blackwell Varudra because of their size, and Cyril was still in the process of completely absorbing the cores they ate recently. So Khan was alone on this one. After traveling by using various modes of transportation, he finally reached a bustling area full of taverns, crowded shops and thousands of people going about their merry lives. By no means would anyone ever think of this posh and clean commercial area as the den of professional killers who would kill anyone as long as you offered them a good price. Khan was now in the getup of Hanthor, the Wolfkin archer. He entered a busy tavern full of customers asking for booze and food loudly. He went to the counter and spoke to the main receptionist in a hushed tone. "Silent whistle," said Khan. The receptionist nodded after hearing the password and signaled Khan to follow him. After going 2 levels underground, Khan was introduced to a completely unbelievable sight. The building above was a normal, day-to-day life type of settlement you'd see anywhere. But the sight in front of him was completely different from what one would expect. Rather than looking like some underground tunnel or a ruined dungeon, the entire floor was like an open field, just brighter, wider, and well-facilitated. Nearly 2,000 people and trained fighters were busy discussing their contracts, targets, information via their payments. As if this wasn't some secret headquarter of a criminal organization, but a farmer's market. But rather than being taken aback by this revelation, Khan's countenance turned grim instead. He spoke with a sinister smile on his face. "Let's see which one of these bastards dared to kill my people."